chilling already, which is amazing. So appreciate that, guys. Um, Slightly different camera view at the moment. Let me know what you think. Work things out a little bit this time compared to normal. So I've got the laptop open so I can see comments rather than trying to look at the camera and look at them on screen, because they obviously, when you're in short view, they kind of flick on and flick off quite quickly. So I'll be watching it on live right here as well, so I can see comments. So I hope I can. Let us have a look. So look at that. The sound off, guys. Let me know who's out there, because it's a little bit of a delay. But let me know in the chat who's there, who's watching, and what do you think of tonight's build. So already I can see we got Nimble. Looking forward to Friday, mates. I'll be in and out of the chat this evening. Got to sort out me lad's tea. Fish fingers and chips, mate. It's the future. But yes, good point, Nimble. Myself and Nimble are going to do another stream on Friday, like we did before, where we talked Lego adjacent, but more sort of Star Wars, what do you want to call it, like science fiction. It's surrounded, the streams we've been doing surround conventions, sci-fi conventions. So yeah, it's a little bit sci-fi convention based chat, just to get a little bit of a break from the whole Lego spiel. Not that I could ever get bored of it, but sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a difference. So yeah, so that's coming Friday. Time to be confirmed. We're thinking probably going to be about 7 p.m.-ish for a couple of hours. And just loose chat, just kind of, talking about it. Nimble wants to talk specifically about a convention he went to recently called Echo Base Live, which is Star Wars orientated, and he's got some videos and content. Hopefully he's going to send that across. Nimble, if you're listening, watching, send some of that information across so that I can share it with you. And if possible, I might try and see if I can set you up on a StreamYard so that you can use that. But other than that, Nimble, nice to see you here tonight, mate. Paddy, the third dog, Sarah, how are you doing tonight? Will's out there, Hoda66. Oh, Will, please tell me that you were not here just because there was no other streams on. I caught some of that conversation on Sunday's stream, and I do appreciate everybody in the chat, Nimble, Sarah, and Will, being there to support the guys. Well, not support the guys, to watch the show, but proactively support the guys running the stream without me. So I do appreciate you guys being there. Hopefully you had fun. I'm watching it back on replay now, and I'm just getting to the bit where some dude comes in pretending to be Bane or doing some Bane impression or whatever. So I'm just about that point. But so far it looks pretty good. I might try and clip those Bane clips and get them up as shorts. Famous last words. So we'll see. So tonight we are building the Imperial Shuttle Tydirium, as you may have already seen. As you can see, I've already started the build. So I was kind of building it a little bit at a time. I think I'm probably on my third sitting. This will be my third or maybe my fourth sitting. I just try to build a little bit after work. I don't rush to build. I know a lot of people are like, well, you got to bang it out. There's no point, because basically what's going to happen with this is I'm going to try and struggle to find somewhere to put him, which will be nowhere. Pile it on top of something else, it'll get knocked over because it's in the way and because there's not a lot of room here. And then eventually, probably within a couple of weeks, I'll take it apart again. So I just try and draw it out until. And look, I keep saying about this whole I got no shelving thing. It ain't a short-term answer. I'm not going to have any shelving. I'm not even going to think about something like that until probably this time next year. And even then, we don't know where to put it, because the current room that we've got spare, it's a massive room. It's a big old room, but it's kind of a room that we don't really have. It doesn't really have. Like, half of the room is my sort of streaming area. The other half is like stuff that we need to sort out for the house. And when we have more children, more little ones come along, this room will be gone. So there's kind of no point putting shelves up and shelving units in here, because then it's just more stuff to try and get rid of. So, but Nimble, you'll be happy to know I've got my cup of tea, mate. Herbal, sorry, but nice and hot, and it's vanilla. So let's see who else we've just had join in. We'll send you some stuff for Friday, mate. Hope you had a great B-Day. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, and everybody who wished me happy birthday in the stream on Friday, which, again, some of you guys were there, or all of you guys were there at least at one point. Really appreciate all the happy birthdays. I don't tend to sort of boast about my birthday, so Martin finding out, or Whitkey finding out about that was kind of accidental. I didn't know that anybody knew when my birthday was. And if I'd been on the stream, I probably would have made a hoopla about it. Because I wasn't going to be there, to be honest with you, I kind of didn't really, it was kind of depressing enough that I was missing a stream. Even more depressing that I was going to work. Even more depressing that I was going to work on my birthday. And then even more depressing on top of that, I'd already started my holiday. And I had to go back in after having 2 days off of my holiday. And on top of all of that, what was supposed to be 3 hours worth of work ended up being almost 7. So we were there till like almost midnight, and it was really, really upsetting. So the idea of then, you know, it was great that people wished me happy birthday, don't get me wrong, but the idea of people like, yeah, and it's like, I just kind of wanted to forget it was my birthday. We'd celebrated it all weekend, thankfully. My daughter and I and Kirsty went out on Saturday all day and celebrated, because Sunday we knew the weather was going to be bad and travel is kind of a nightmare. Less things open on a Sunday. And then, of course, Sunday we celebrated most of the day. So I was quite lucky that I had the opportunity to do both of those things. But yeah, so after that, once I got to work, I was like, don't know, it's not my birthday, forget about it, I'm in work, focus on work, whatever. So a bit sad, but there you go. But yeah, having a good week off so far. Not really, but I'll talk a little bit about it in a bit. I want to get into the build, but my week off so far has been unproductive. In fact, I only set up this stream because I wanted to be able to say at least I've done something productive. So that Bane was a dodgy dude. He was dodgy. It was kind of, from what I can gather, Bane mixed in with a bit of Anthony Hopkins, apparently. So I go wherever friendly Lego builders are at. Oh, thank you, mate. I appreciate that, yeah. Herbal tea is basically a crime in the UK. Yep, and I'm a criminal, mate. I've also got a nice selection of treats here to go with my tea. Some Halloween cookies. Couple of mince pies, because it's never too early to have mince pies. I'm a huge mince pie fan, except for Mr. Kipling. Mr. Kipling mince pies are dog shit. They taste awful. But I like sort of mince. I don't like that big chunky stuff. But most mince pies, pretty good. Like the dusted, powdered ones, as opposed to kind of granulated sugar ones. But they started selling them in the co-op around the corner from me. I think as early as September, and I've already put away probably about 20 mince pies up to now. So every now and then I get myself a cheeky pack of 4. And then, of course, now the Christmas is kind of almost in full swing. You can get them practically anywhere, and I start sort of sampling different ones. Big mince pie guy, but unfortunately mince pies don't like me very much. Although a lot of food doesn't at my age, but I press on because they're that good. But yeah, guys, if you're out there, I can see there's, there's 10, 9 people watching. Only seen 3 or 4 of you in the chat. So, guys, if you're new here, please sound off. Let me know you're here. I'll give you a shout out. Obviously, tell you a little bit about the channel, let you know what's going on, what we do here. I say we because I'm one of a team of people who works on this channel. And yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming and joining. Thanks for trying out something new. If you are new, yeah, we're just going to be building Lego. We're just going to be talking bollocks, basically. A little bit of everything, a little bit of nothing. And yeah, if you've got questions, whether it be Star Wars, Lego, or anything related, just throw them in the chat. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to ask something abusive and I'll either ignore you or ban you. But outside of that, it's almost like, you know, nothing's off the table. Because I mean, you get to know me, especially if you're new here, that, you know, I like to have a little bit of banter anyway. So it's all good. Okay, so I'm with you, mate. Mince pies are banging. Oh, I do like a good mince pie, yeah. Ice mince pies this year. Ooh, now I used to work in food retail, so we used to sell the ice mince pies, and the icing, I think, is just, I don't know what it is. It doesn't complement the kind of mince and the pastry very well. It works great on like a sponge cake, but it's too heavy for me, so I kind of avoid those ones like the plague. However, you can get iced mince pie adjacent type products. Mr. Kipling make things like treacle pies and a few other different ones where the filling is kind of like sweet or jam. like a Bakewell tart type thing, but Christmas versions, and those are pretty good. But with mincing, ooh, I don't know. The kind of icing kind of overpowers everything, both in its consistency, weight, and flavour. Anyway, we're going to get into it. And one thing I will say, guys, is I'm building a Shuttle Tydirium, and I'm going to give a quick shout out to Sam, aka Brick Sam. Unfortunately, Sam, he's still a Lego collector, still in the community thereabouts. You can check him out over on YouTube, and I believe he's kind of on and off Instagram nowadays. But he decided to kind of give up on Lego, or Star Wars Lego in particular. I know he kept some of his bigger, UCS sets, but he kind of decided that he was just had enough of the prices and the quality of Star Wars Lego after being a collector for a long time. And he has been on our show in the past, very early on. I think he was like episode 4 or 5. So you can go check that out if you want to know a little bit more about Sam. But unfortunately, he decided to give up on it. And I reached out to Sam. I wanted to get him on a one-off show, like a Cool Hand Debates show, rather than the regular show, just to talk about getting out of the Lego hobby and what that means. No longer being part of it, and why you're giving up, reasons to give up, current thoughts, that kind of thing. Because I've known a few people. Bob Fiber first, if any of you guys know him, shout out to Josh, is another person who did a similar thing quite recently. But Sam, yeah, anyway, he got rid of a lot of his Lego collection, so I reached out to him quite early on, and I was like, hey, what are you selling? And he was like, what are you buying? And I said, yeah, let me know what's up for grabs. So he threw out a couple of different things he had up for sale. He was selling on Vinted. And I just said, look, let me take a couple off your hands, do me a deal. And he did. So I got this Imperial Shuttle Tydirium used in very good condition, because I know he looks after his Lego. And for a very, very good price. I can't tell you what the price was because I can't actually remember. But I know I had 2 sets. This one and the Battle on Endor diorama set, which was that sealed? I think that one might have been sealed. No, either way, no, I think it was used. Yeah, because I know he built it. I'm pretty sure he built it. So he had those 2 sets, sold them to me, I think for 80 quid, I believe, posted, which is a pretty good price. So yeah, the only problem is that whenever I buy used sets, and I do like to buy used sets quite a lot because I believe in the whole pre-loved thing. Of course, you can't always guarantee quality, but in terms of price, it is good. And of course, when it's sets that you know that you're not going to be able to buy brand new without paying ridiculous price, and I don't see the reason for why not. I'm the same with books. I very often go to charity shops and look for books that I like or might be interested in, and I feel like giving that Lego, those books, a new home where they're going to be looked after is, it's the equivalent of going to a shelter to pick up a puppy or a dog, as opposed to buying one brand new. There's benefits and fallbacks to each, but it just, for me, I'm not that bothered about the whole, ooh, it's open, it's brand new, it's sealed. Those things are important, but they're not as important to me as owning the set at a good price. So yes. So what I always do with sets is, regardless of who the person is, how much I trust them, I'll always go through on Bricklink and part out the set and check everything off. I did that with this set, but what I'd forgotten to do before I started building it is check that it was fully complete. I say fully complete, that wouldn't have mattered, because in I'd say 8 times out of 10, the parts that are missing, if there are any at all missing, I've already got in my parts collection. My parts collection, I'm quite lucky, is quite vast. So yeah, there's a little bit of digging around, but I hadn't actually got to the point where I picked those parts. So I kind of scrambled about 20 minutes before the stream and realized, hang about, I'm missing some parts. So I had to kind of dig through some of my parts bags, and it's a little bit all over the place. If I turn the camera around, you'd be horrified. But I managed to find all but maybe 2 parts, which I don't think, as it happens, it all seems to be from the landing gear of the shuttle. So I think maybe somewhere along the line, when he's been taken apart, when it's been on display, you've knocked the landing gear. So most of the parts from that part. So I managed to kind of scramble together and find the parts that were missing in my spares. So we're going to put those on where I've missed them so far, and then just carry on with the build, I guess. Oh Christ! Okay, I've fallen down with chat because I went on a mad one. Who we got here? Let's have a look. Ultra Bricks. Oh, I thought that was I didn't recognize the icon. Ultra, how are we doing, mate? Nice to have you here. which one is this? Which year? I mean, so this is the. Oh, I don't actually know, but I believe it's the best version. I don't actually know the year. I want to say. Let me just have a look, because I think this came out when it's kind of Rebels era. So I want to say 2012 ish. Someone in the chat want to look that up. I don't want to I'm using both my devices at the moment, so I couldn't tell you. And now those kind of things don't really bother me that much, so it doesn't make a difference to me. But it's the best version, and not just. And of course, I've told you guys before, I'm not a huge figures guy, in terms of them being that important overall for the set. I'm kind of 70-30 build versus set, but sometimes when I'm deciding between two shuttles, I would go for one that's got the better figures. This one I think is one of the more up-to-date models. Some of the older versions, I think maybe two of the versions that came before this were kind of a bit janky looking, great for the time, but not dated very well. But this one came with a great selection of figures, including, Poncho Leia. Not the best picture. Sorry, I got the ring light on my camera, so it's going to take the glare off, unfortunately. Wait a sec. No, that's not going to work either. So we got Poncho Leia. One of the pieces that was missing was her cookie, her little cookie. And then we got a couple of, we got Han in his kind of, in his, I don't know what you want to call it, is kind of outdoor gear. There's a Chewie in there, which I think is a standard Chewie. Another sort of Rebel Scout. And then, of course, this guy. Arguably the best set in the best figure in the set, but the one that people kind of debate whether it's Rex or not. Go with what you think is best. But yes, so great set of figures in that, which really kind of, I mean, it was odd to me that they didn't have any kind of, I mean, I know those guys were riding in this ship, but there wasn't a kind of stormtrooper or anything else in there. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's have a look. I've slowed down on buying Star Wars sets, but as a mock builder, I will always keep my parts collection. Yeah, 100%. I've slowed down on both, actually. I haven't been building either as much as I'd like. I've got loads of mocks on the go, and I was really, really tempted to go down and check out a National Brick event in Barry, which is where my parents live and where I'm from originally. Shout out to Gavin Stacey and Barry. But so I was going to go down there and check that out. National Brick events, quite a relatively new brick festival in the UK. But and I was going to display some mocks, and I just thought at some point between now, deciding, which was kind of last week, and this Saturday, which is when it is, I would have to kind of dust a few things off, find a few things, get them put together, try and get them down there. And I just thought, I can't be bothered. But that would have been the encouragement, I think, that I would have probably needed to sort my mocks out a little bit and get them sorted. But there we go. Whittaky's in the chat. How are we doing, Whittaky? Sorry, I only just now seen your message. I'm a little bit behind with the chat because I'm on a mad one. Buying used from ladder collector is the way to go. Always in great condition, cheaper than new. Yeah, and I bought from parents who were selling on behalf of their kids as well. Not always that bad. I get the whole, it's dirty, whatever, and you don't know where it's been. Well, yeah, I get that, but I mean, most of these people who say that will also happily go to a Lego store and buy pad wall, pick a bricks. I mean, there's more likely to be kids, multiple people's hands that have been God knows where in there than there is on a set that's been in usually one household, played with by one or two kids. So yeah, I don't really care about that too much. And if the set comes and it looks particularly dastardly, I'll always put it in the wash anyway, which is just put it in a neck bag inside a pillowcase, throw it in the washing machine. And yeah, I've always done that, and the sets always come out, the parts always come out looking sweet. So But yeah, I'm pretty much only buying brand new sealed stuff now unless I know the person selling. Yeah, I will say it's been a while since I bought a used set. I think this was probably the last time, and this was over a year ago. So I can't remember. Like, I don't troll Facebook Marketplace anymore. I did go on a mad one when I first kind of got back. Not when I first got back into the hobby, but within a few years of getting into the hobby, when I realized like some of the older sets that I'd like, and kind of got into the community and realized there was a lot of great sets that had been and gone. And at that point, not everybody was doing it. Prices were reasonable. And I was selling off my Star Wars collection in terms of non-Lego collection from years, and which was 20, 30 years old at that point. So I sold all that off, and the money I was making from there I was using just to kind of buy sets, and I was getting stuff on. I've talked about it in streams before, but I got some fantastic sets for a ridiculously low price. But then, you know, nowadays you go on there and it's like people are trying to sell used sets for more than they were ever on the shelf for. And a used set to me, unless it's a really, really rare collector's item, should always still be cheaper than it was when it was brand new. That's the rule of thumb for me. So, but yeah, so I'm only buying brand new myself really at the moment. Oh, I tell a lie. I bought some secondhand sets at Brickworld, of course. But again, from other collectors. Shout out to Will's Bricks, who sold me a couple of used sets. I haven't had a chance to part check those yet, but I'm pretty confident they'll all be there. So yeah, so that's the last time I did it. But yeah, I've just seen a message that said something about clumps of grey hair. Buying brand new seals, bought a used set and I had clumps of grey hair in it and nearly threw up. Yeah, I bought a huge bag. It was like a 9 kilogram bag of Lego, which is relatively heavy. It's quite a big ass bag. This was during lockdown, and I paid 55 quid. It was actually marked up as 50 quid. And I said, look, throw an extra £5 on there. Will you deliver it to the house? Which they did. They only live local anyway, but they delivered it. 55 quid. Well, I'd say it was probably about 8 kilos by the time I took out all the... There was bits of glass in there, there was marbles, there was nails, there was all sorts of stuff in there. I don't know what kid was playing with that stuff, but... and the set, the Lego itself wasn't in the best of condition, like some of it. However, with the unique parts there, I managed to part together a turbo tank, an Arc 170, a Venator. What else did I get from there? There was actually quite a few sets. There was some droid ship, a bunch of smaller sets. It was mostly kind of all the Clone Wars kind of era stuff. I had I say there's about 8 or 9 sets from there, and some of them bigger sets. And they weren't fully complete, but I think I worked out, by the time I parted out what was missing and made those sets complete, like obviously some of the unusual parts that are in those sets were all there. So it wasn't like I was paying ridiculous price, and I did have a parts collection, a small parts collection at the time. So I think by the time that added to the price what I paid, I would say I probably paid about 150 in total. That includes the woman delivering it, that all the parts ordered, 150 quid, and that got me a Venator, an Arc 170, a turbo tank. I forget what the other ships were. There was a bunch in there. Was there a drop? Yeah, those kind of sets anyway. There was like those 3 bigger ships, and then there was some smaller ships in there as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. And there wasn't any figures in there, but I had those builds, and I was quite chuffed with that. So, but yeah, I always try and buy everything secondhand if I can. I love to keep up stuff out landfill and keep it back. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Right, I'm really falling behind my chat now, so I'm going to whiz through, and then we're actually going to do some building. Nimble, ew. Sarah, it was vile. Yo Ultra, yuck. Nimble, I've never bought on eBay. With a key, Hoarder, 2015. It's the best play scale version. 2015. I was close. I said 2012, I think. And also, guys, I forgot to charge my phone before I came on the stream, so I wasn't able to plug my phone in. So I had to plug my phone into the charger rather than to my mic. So let me know what the audio was like. I assume okay since you're interacting with me, but Nimble was the grey hair head up. No, not reading that out. Like, Timmy, what's up? I don't know where to key. You tell me. Do you have a Discord server? Do I have a Discord server? I don't know what you mean. Oh, like a Discord chat specifically for me? No. Do you think I need one? I mean, I can't keep up with the chats I'm in. I mean, we've got a specific one for the UK guys under ACOB's Discord, which is only for ACOB members and CPA and Sean and Brent. But because we had some plans going on in there at one point, but I barely ever use it. I can't remember the last time I looked at Discord. So no, the answer is no. But strange question. I got that set as part of a used haul with 8 other sets and a bunch of parts for $50 a few years back. It was missing Leia's poncho. Well, I mean, have in mind. No grey yet, but a few ginger ones. Nice. So we've got Narayan887. Did you get this 100% complete? Okay, so you missed the bit where I talked about that, Narayan. I got it from a friend, a good friend in the community. And no, it wasn't 100% complete. It was missing, I want to say, 10. Wait, how many is in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It was missing about 15 parts, 13 of which I scrambled and grabbed from my spare parts collection minutes before this stream started because I'd forgotten that I'd forgotten to check if they were all there before I started building. And it was only when I was building the other night that I was like, wait a sec, I'm missing some pieces. And then I went onto my Bricklink account, I went under my wanted lists and realized there was one there for the Imperial Shuttle Tydirium and a list of parts. I was like, ball bag. So yeah, but I managed to scramble most of them together at short notice, and I'm only missing 3 now. And I probably have got them as well. I just didn't have time to keep looking. So yeah, so Narayan, thanks for joining us. New to the stream, I believe. Don't forget to hit the sub, like the stream, keep the comments coming. I'll try and interact as best I can. I haven't actually done any building yet, but yeah, I should just do a stream where I just sit here and talk to people, because I feel like I could do that better than I can just talk and build. But welcome to the stream, and I appreciate you coming and stopping by. Claude Jeremiah Greengrass, that's a mouthful. I'm not allowed Lego after what happened with the last. Oh, do I want to know what happened with that? But Claude, again, thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate you being here and checking us out. And I do say us because it is a team of people who work on this channel. And we do a regular live stream every Sunday, 7 p.m. called the Cool Hang Luke Show, where we generally talk Lego. And I also do build streams like this randomly, and we do other streams and bits and pieces. I do some shorts and a few medium sort of size videos from time to time when I can be bothered, but generally Lego content and most of that Star Wars. But stay, enjoy, grab a seat, tell us about that, whatever happened with that last Lego set, and just enjoy me talking and building, because that's pretty much all that's going on. Given my last set had 6 pieces missing, new sealed. That's not bad for the... Damn! You had it new and sealed and there were 6 pieces missing. That is messed up. I don't think I've ever had a piece missing from a brand new sealed set. I have had a bag missing, and I've also had a duplicated bag, but I wouldn't call that anything missing as such, because it's clearly the bag that's missing rather than the parts. But that is strange. Okay, I've been in a couple of streams, randomly found this channel like a month ago. Oh, thank you. So you may have been in the chat before, so I apologize if you're not actually new here and you might have checked us out on our live streams. But if you haven't subbed already, please go and do that right now. And yeah, stay with us and check us out and let us know. What are the other streams you check out? Are they Lego as well? What do you think of this set? Best version of the set? You just need someone else to get on and read chat. Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm doing this via YouTube Live. And the way YouTube Live works is that I'm not sure if there is a way to add somebody else. I don't know how to do that. And I don't know if there's anybody else out there who'd want to do that. So, Will, if you're volunteering, mate, go ahead. But you'd have to tell me how to do it, because I don't know how to on this. I always use StreamYard when we're streaming, and obviously it's a tool to kind of control it. But I do find that when you stream live via StreamYard, 90% of the advertisement goes to people who are already subscribed to the channel. I'm just trying to open the gates a little bit to new people, and get some more new people to come and check out the stream. So I did see we had up to about 20 people on at one point viewing, still only 9 likes. So I will say, guys, if you head into the stream, whether you're here to stop and stay, whether you're here to say, what the hell is this, and clear off again, please give it a like. It doesn't cost you anything, and I do appreciate. So let's see those likes going up. And the more people that tune in, the more likes we get. And obviously, the better I can do in terms of opening those floodgates and getting some new people in on the chat. But yeah, no, I'm the same. I'm the same. Will, I'm useless with technology. I mean, the thing is, like, kind of up here, just about out of reach anyway. If I mess with it, it's going to mess up the angle and the camera. So I think there's an option to do it. I believe when I was setting this up, there's an option to stream to other people's channels now, which it wasn't before, which is relatively new. But I don't know if there's a way, once you're live streaming, to add other people on. I know how to do that on Instagram, but on this I wouldn't know. So yeah, look, I'm just going to get into this build and we'll talk a little bit best we can. So we have got, right, I don't think I need my glasses at the moment because it is quite bright in here, but I think I'm going to be okay. So let us know in the chat, guys, what are you guys building? Maybe not right now. I mean, if there's anybody else out there building along, I always put that in the comments. Come along, build with us. I always put that in the chat, in the comments of the description. But I don't think people generally do that. They usually kind of tend to watch me while they're doing something else. So the question is, if you're building, what are you building? If you're not building, what are you doing? What have you been doing today, particularly if you're in the UK and you've had the majority of the day behind you? And if you're not doing any of those things or don't have anything to really contribute to those questions, let me know what was your most recent build, the most recent Lego build. Like, what have you worked on recently? Just so we can get some chat coming back at me. I'll find out what everyone else has been up to, because I'm genuinely interested. I mean, the main reason I come on here is to do these live streams. Yes, I want to kind of build a channel and reach more people and all that kind of stuff, but I do it because I like interacting with people, just generally, as you probably noticed by the way I talk. And I'm like this in person as well. And the guys who have met me will tell you that. So this isn't a kind of online persona. This is me. I like to kind of get in the chat and talk to people, particularly about things I'm interested in, i.e. Lego, and yeah, and find out what other people have got going on. Knowledge is power and all that. And I'm quite excited now because we got Bricktastic coming up in February. And I finally get to meet both Nimble and Muttley in person. So Nimble's been part of the show now since we got back from Brickworld, and still haven't had a chance to meet him. I've met my other co-hosts as well as every other kind of side co-host from the main channel, from the main show. So I've met Oaktown, Padawan, Ostiff, Mole's Vengeance. I've met Slurpee and Witticky. Witticky I've met several times now, but I'm finally going to get to meet Nimble as well, which I'm quite looking forward to. But yeah, it's just kind of, I guess, a word of warning to you, Nimble, is that you think I can talk on stream, mate? You should see what I'm like in real life. But I do like to have a good chinwag, as he would say. I feel like I'm better as a one-on-one kind of guy. I'll be honest, when we went to Brickworld, I was kind of, I wouldn't say overwhelmed, but when there's a lot going on, I'm more of a kind of, I do like, when I know people very well, I can talk in a group quite confidently. But there was a couple of times there when we kind of just arrived and we were just kind of surrounded by people who I knew of or spoken to, in some cases multiple times, and had streams with, but I hadn't had a chance to kind of one-on-one interact with yet. And some people I'd never met or interacted with at all, kind of surrounded by that crew of people, and everybody's kind of talking and talking over each other and talking at once, and you're trying to kind of focus on getting to know these people, but you can't because, you know, there's so much going on. And I found that quite difficult, I will say. Whereas, you know, when it was a smaller group, or when I was with at least a few handful of people who I'd gotten used to, I did find it then easier to kind of mingle with a larger crowd. I mean, everybody has their own kind of thing, but for me, it was just like little bits at a time. And then once you know, we went out. I haven't had a chance to share the pictures, but we went out for my stag do when we were out there. And by that point, like everybody at that celebration with me, I'd gotten to know them well enough, and it was kind of like, yeah, this is fine, this is great, you know. But it takes a while to get to that point. So, but yeah, so I think a Bricktastic, I'll be a little bit more comfortable because, you know, of the people going. The majority of them I know quite well now in person. So, but yeah, looking forward to that for sure. And you know, while we're on the subject of that, Nimble, we need to book that hotel, mate. We need to sort it out. Maybe we do a live hotel purchase on Friday stream. How's that? I mean, we'll be talking about conventions anyway, so. And I don't know how you feel about it, mate. You know, I like the idea of it being just yourself and I, but I'm wondering if we might roll up somebody else, perhaps somebody who's going to be a Bricktastic, even if not for the whole stream, to have a little chat about Bricktastic and go through it. But I don't know, because it's Lego, Bricktastic is Lego orientated. I feel like that probably work better to keep that for a stream. I want to, you know, for the show. We'll see. Right, what are we saying, guys? I'm about to do the new U-Wing. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, I got the U-Wing for my birthday. Spoiler alert. I'm going to take a photo and share it at some point. I got the U-Wing, and for my birthday from Kirsty. Shout out to Kirsty. I really appreciate her getting me some Lego sets. I wasn't expecting that. I just realised I left my tea go cold. So, Nimble, if I wasn't annoying to you before, one thing I hate more than cold tea is waste. So, but yeah, so I wasn't expecting to get any Lego sets because I told her not to get me Lego, and I got enough. And you know, just in general, you know, not to get me. Not that there's anything else you could get me, because you know, it's only really Lego I kind of like. But long and short of it is, I wasn't expecting it, and I got it. But I also got one other Lego set. I'm going to let you guys guess what that set was in the chat, just to make it a little bit exciting. So I got two Lego sets. One of them was the U-Wing. So Will, tell us about it, mate. Sorry, Ultra, tell us about it, mate. So do you say you're about to do? So you're about to do it like physically now, or like within the next week, next couple of days? If you're busting it open now, amazing. Let me know what the build is like. Yeah, and hopefully you got it at a very good price. I'm hoping Kirsty did as well. So, on your afternoon walk when I get back home, I will resume taking apart sets for the collection. You'll have to explain that a bit better, Will, because I'm going to taking apart sets for the collection. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, so you'll have to explain that a little bit. It's beautiful out right now. I'm not sure whereabouts in the US you are, Will, but you'll have to let us know. I'm assuming if the weather's nicer this time of year, then it's relatively far south. So I'm just going to go straight out there and say, I'm just going to guess. I have no clue, but I'm going to guess, and I'm going to guess this time of year. Do I go New Mexico sort of side, or do I go kind of Louisiana? I'm going to go Georgia. I'm going to go Georgia kind of area, which I think is relatively nice. I mean, you might mean nice as in just clean, clear day, as opposed to like warm, sunny. But let us know, mate, if you're willing to, you know, we're not going to hone down where you live based on a state. But yeah, let us know where you are. And glad you're enjoying your walk. With the dog or anything, or with the wife, or just alone. Yeah, looking forward to the U-Wing. Muttley posted a cheap deal for it, so picked it up a few days ago. I have seen it at a very good price. And I'm really surprised, and I've said this from day one, I'm not going to get into it now because it's like a big thing. And I believe it's kind of all planned. It's almost like planned obsolescence, if you guys ever know what that is, where they kind of design technology to, become obsolete itself after a certain amount of time, with the expectation that you're going to buy it or buy more or buy another one. Um, and there was a time where that started happening, because I've still got the same TV that I spent a lot of money on, but you could probably get it for a fraction of the price of TV that size now. Um, and it's still going, it still works just as well as it did day one. So there was a kind of timeline when that started happening. But Lego, I think, is the same. I think they overprice them to start with, and then they're doing it in the UK as well, where they then aggressively merchandise them, aggressively sell them cheaper, to make it feel like you're getting a better deal, because a lot of people will see the deal or the cut in price as opposed to what it's worth or what the price was, or the price should have been. It's hard to measure with stuff like that, because obviously you've got nothing to go on other than the RRP, which is what Lego puts on it, and they're the ones also designing the deals. But and this is why I like to buy from other places. But I'm finding even in the UK that the newer sets going in sale and being reduced in price a lot sooner than they would have been in the past. Um, sometimes you have to wait 6 months, 8 months, maybe even a year before you started seeing deals on these products. But now you're seeing it within weeks. I mean, this is an August wave we're talking about, or some of the August wave we're talking about. And we're only in October, and we're seeing them at fractions of the price. So I've even seen stuff less than 20% already from those waves. So it is happening. But what I believe is that a lot of people have bought into how much cheaper it is, rather than. But let's take the chopper for example. So I thought the chopper was overpriced. Saw it the other day in a deal, and it's like a mega deal, 71 quid. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, that is cheaper than the original price. So a lot of people will jump on it because it's 70 instead of like 110 or whatever. But if 110 was well overpriced and saying 90 is a realistic price for it, then 71 isn't that good of a deal. Does that make sense? Anyway, I'm not going to get into the whole price kind of thing again. But yeah, it is kind of good that they're getting these deals. But I always think to myself, that's why when I see a set come out, I say what I think that set is a reasonable price to pay for it. I won't look at what the red mark is, what the percentage is. Is it 50% discount? Is 20% discount? Because if a set is £100 but it's worth 50, 20% off that makes it 80. Yeah, that looks good because it's 20% off, and you're saving 20 quid. But you're still paying 30 quid more than it's worth. So to me, like, I'll look at the battle pack and I'll say, I'm buying that battle pack that came out. It was 35 quid in the UK. I'm buying that battle pack at 18 quid. If it doesn't come to 18 quid, I won't buy it. If I see it down to 25, £10 off, I'm not going to be like, whoa, that looks amazing, it's such a good deal. Because, no, still, do you know what I mean? That's what I think is important. And I kind of encourage other people to do this, is when they see a set, regardless of what the price is, you decide what you feel is the right price for that set, depending on how much you earn and how much you can afford. And some people can afford to just buy the set and want it day one. That's fine by me. I don't discourage that. But people like me who are going to buy it and then it's going to sit in a stack for months, it makes 0 sense to buy it day one. So yeah, there's no FOMO there anyway, and any FOMO that it could be, I'm still getting even if I own the set, because I'm not building it. So it makes no sense. But yeah, I do encourage people to, you decide what you feel it's worth based on your own personal situation. Pay that price if it gets to it. Don't if it doesn't, and stick by your guns. Looking forward to the U-Wing. Looking forward to me and all the gang at Britastic. The first in-person chinwag will be epic. It will, mate. And I'll be doing most of the chinning and the wagging. Yeah, live buy. That's a good idea. Yeah, we'll do a live buy on Friday. We're just trying to see if we can get the other guys to just jump in to be part of the live buy, if nothing else. Smoky smokes. But I don't know, Nimble. It's up to you, man. I like the idea of me and you doing a stream, and I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, well we've got a thing going between us, even though it's only the second episode and it hasn't even happened yet. But I also don't want to be like, oh, he's just fobbed it off to everybody. But maybe we do just get the whole crew of guys together, and because we did say we were going to do a stream talking about Bricktastic, as in like getting excited about it. So I don't know why we don't just see if we can get all the boys together for that Friday, even if it's just for the first hour, talk about Bricktastic and book it, and then they can clear off or do whatever they want to do, and then we'll get into Echo Base. Pardon me. Hey yo, Smokey! Smokey! What the fuck, Smokey? Smokey, hey yo. Hope you're enjoying the build so far. Cool. I'm currently in work and lurking mode, listening. So, for Smokey that's out there working and lurking, this mic doesn't work, by the way, so this is for comedic effect. This one goes out to Smokey. We're going to put together 3 parts. The first 3 parts in the last 30 minutes. Yeah, Smokey, what's happening? Smokey, perfect example of someone who I didn't know that well. Kind of, when I met them, we were at, I can't even remember where we were, but they definitely grabbed, Smokey definitely grabbed me as I was kind of walking to or from the toilet. You sat with Hive. We were at that bar, I don't even know what it's called. And it was like, yo, I'm Smokey, introduce yourself. And it's like, great, yeah, nice to meet you. But it was like a lot going on. So it was like, kind of like, yeah, it's not the place to kind of get to know somebody new. But once we got through that barrier and, we hung out for a couple of days and we were chatting and stuff at Brickworld, it was like, yeah, Smokey, one of the crew, and vice versa, because I don't want to make it sound like it's my crew and these people are coming in, but it's like one of the crew for me and I'm one of their crew. And yeah, and then it was just comfortable, like. So it's just a shame we can't do it more regularly, and I'm potentially not even next year, but love to be able to, even if it was once every 6 months or once a year for sure, love to be able to get together with those guys, particularly that main crowd who we were with on the last night, or I say this last night, yeah, I guess the last full night, Saturday night, because that was like the core group for me of maybe not the people who were together all the time, but those people sat around that table are the people who I consider my closest friends of the people at Bricktastic. So, Brickworld, sorry, Bricktastic, Chris, I'm getting them all mixed up now. I got the U in for 35 quid, which feels good value for that set. Absolutely, absolutely. I think I put my earmark on it at 40. I can't actually remember for that particular set. I can't remember what it was originally priced at. I believe it was priced at 70 originally, so I thought, well, 40 is almost half price. But if you got it for 35, that is half price. That's class. Well done. Well done, you. Good boy. I'll pop in our Bricktastic WhatsApp group, mate. I'll pop it in. Yeah, do so. Check it in there, mate, and see if the guys want to pop along. If you're okay with that. I mean, I've kind of called you out on your lives. If you'd said no, they all would have seen it and gone, Jesus, what happened to my eye? I just scratched it once. See, this is what I'm like. It's because I ain't got the glasses on. My eyes are straining. I don't even know I'm straining my eyes half the time because I'm looking at 2 screens and a light. Anyway, anyone tuning in to the Black Friday set reveal tomorrow? Yeah, I saw that. Who said that? Ultra. I saw that, and I don't actually know what the hell it's about. I have no clue. I've kind of missed it, obviously. I remember going for a Black Friday one before, and it was just like a Black Friday brick. I was just like, well, being a Star Wars Lego guy, almost specifically, it just did nothing for me. So I'm just like, I can't remember where I had to spend so much to get something. There was some kind of threshold, and I was just like, why did I do this? Up until that point, the only kind of GWPs I'd been interested in is May the 4th. I remember being disappointed by it. So unless it's Star Wars orientated, quite frankly, I'm not interested. But it will be interesting to see what it is. But GWPs have been stinkers lately, so I'm not holding them much hope. But yeah, that would be interesting to see. But I don't know when it is, what time it is, if it's UK or US time. So it'll be interesting to see. Oh, I missed a comment up here. Sorry, I apologize. Force Bricks is in the house. Force Bricks, welcome, mate. I know you're not new to the stream, so if you haven't already, hit that like. And if you haven't already, which I'd be surprised if you haven't, but please sub. What's up, Cool Ham? What's up, Four Sprits? What are you up to? I'm hoping for at least $20 off before I grab the MTT. Oof, is that all? Christ. Yeah, I want to see that MTT come right down. I think I like the MTT better than, well, I do like the MTT better than the Turbo Tank of that kind of sort of size and scale and price. But I really want to see that Turbo Tank come down to about 70. Sorry, that MTT come down to about 70 quid before I even touch it, which means that I probably won't. So, um, so yeah. What else have I missed? So yeah, you'll have to let me know, Ultra. When is that thing? I mean, I'm probably unlikely going to be doing it, but what time is it? I mean, you're in UK time, so let me know. Smokey, Smokey. Everyone shout out Smokey. The Star Trek set might be a lot black for. Yeah, we don't talk about Star Trek here. Star Trek Enterprise set 5:15 UK. Oh, it's It's Black Friday specifically for the Star Trek. Yeah, then I'm definitely not interested. So 5:15 UK time on Friday. Well, maybe we can talk about it on Friday, on Sunday stream, because I'm trying to keep Fridays one Lego free. Although we'll be talking about Bricktastic, we're talking about the event more than the actual brick itself. So, but yeah, or we may mention it in the Friday one, I guess, but because it will be kind of fresh news then. But I have zero interest in Star Trek. In fact, I kind of hate Star Trek. I just don't see the fascination. But which is weird because a lot of science fiction people all like the same kind of thing. But yeah, I've scrolled right up in the chat for some reason. Let's go back to the bottom. Star Trek. Okay, so I'm at the bottom of the chat. So let's do some building. Again, guys, if you're new here or if you've just arrived, if you're lurking, whatever, let me know in the chat. What are you building if you're building right now? If you're not building right now, this very moment, what have you been building recently? What's your most recent build, or the build you plan to do kind of next, if you like? And if you haven't built recently, or you're not building right now, or you're in work and you don't have any plans to do any building, what else have you been up to today? And I gotta kind of warn you guys, you might hear some fireworks in the background. If you're from the UK, I don't need to explain why. If you're from the US, then essentially tonight is the UK's version of May the 4th. The UK's version of July the 4th. The difference is July the 4th is a kind of daytime celebration, or a whole day celebration, whereas the celebration in the US, I say it's like July the 4th, I mean because it's, basically an excuse for people to let off fireworks, which I'm not a big fan of, never have been, don't really bother with them myself. Even as a kid I was never particularly interested, but in the UK it's a big thing, it's a big deal to let off. And the reason for it, without going into too much detail in case you are from the US, is it's called Bonfire Night, aka Guy Fawkes Night, because my history is shocking around that particular thing, but at some point in the past some rebellion decided that they wanted to blow up the Houses of Parliament. You're talking kind of probably before the US was even a country, that long ago, and they tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. They were caught, spoiler, and yeah, they were blown up with like a bunch of gunpowder, or attempted to, but they were caught because somebody grassed them up, I believe, and it never happened. But it was fondly known from then on as Fireworks Night, even though no fireworks actually, there wasn't actually any explosions, which is kind of odd. Or it's called Guy Fawkes Night because it's named after the guy who was behind the what they call the gunpowder plot, Guy Fawkes. So his name is Guy, G-U-Y, surname Fawkes, F-A-W-K-E-S. So it's lovingly known as Guy Fawkes Night or Bonfire Night. So people do like bonfires, and we've got like a travellers camp just over there, and they tend to do bonfires all the time anyway, so I dare say they'll probably have a big one going. And yeah, bonfires and letting off fireworks and basically, terrorizing dogs and cats in the neighborhood. Well, or across the country, not just the neighborhood, across the country, because it's like a countrywide thing. I'm not sure if Ireland or the Republic of Ireland celebrate it. They got their own rebellions to celebrate, but yeah. So you may hear that in the background. I apologize for that. Initially tonight I was supposed to be, or today I was supposed to, yeah, tonight I was supposed to be doing a stream, which I'd been planning with Ken, aka Brick Dynasty, and I do urge you to go over and check out Ken's channel on YouTube. It does a similar thing to myself and my team, where he has a regular show on a Wednesday night. I believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern, but he was a panel. It was like him and another guy called Saunders who used to kind of host with him, but now he's just alone these days. And his good wife Tanya, shout out to Tanya, might step in as well. But they, if you know them, they tend to they have a regular show and they have guests on every week, similar to us, but theirs is a bit more kind of, I don't want to say professional, not because it's not, but because that makes it sound a bit kind of boring. And it isn't. It's just a bit more kind of one-on-one, get to know you kind of interview kind of structure, whereas ours is more like gang of people. If Ken's is sitting on a chat show, one-to-one talking with a guest, ours is the equivalent of after the chat show when everybody's in the green room, had too many to drink, and is all just kind of giving each other some abuse. That's probably how I would kind of categorize our show versus his show. So there's room in the space for both. And I actually think they complement each other quite well. But yeah, Ken's got his own thing going on. He's recently passed 500 subscribers. He's now on like 600 subscribers, and he's heading up. And me and Ken kind of, I wouldn't say started at the same time. I think he had about 3 or 4 months, or maybe even 6 months on us in terms of when he started his channel. But we've kind of grown quite close with each other in terms of, I wouldn't say comparing channels, but we've had a couple of conversations in the past about like how each other are doing on the channel and just kind of sharing ideas, that kind of thing. And Ken's been on the channel, on our show a few times. He even helped host the show at one point from Brick World. You can go back and check out that episode. As a good friend of the show and a good friend of ours. And yeah, so the point I was trying to make is that myself and Ken had Tyler on his show very recently, and I urge you to go and check that particular show out. It was a fantastic show. I had to watch in about 10 installments because I don't get a lot of time to watch YouTube, sadly, but just dropped a piece. Find out what that is shortly. I don't get a lot of time to watch YouTube, but when I do, I tend to watch, Ken's show, I think, is probably one of the main ones I'll watch. And yeah, Tyler on from Life Bricks. Tyler's been on our show as well in the past. Unfortunately, not as the official guest, but he's been on in the past once or twice. And they were talking, and they got into a conversation which I've also witnessed on another stream. I believe that stream was ACOB's stream, where they got into a conversation about, this is kind of loose and they kind of brisked over it, but the conversation was about like, the difference between Brent and Sean. I guess there's an age gap where Brent was a kind of youngster when the Phantom Menace and the prequel kind of launched, whereas Sean was like myself, an adult at that point. And Ken fits into that category as well. And Tyler fits into the category of, a younger person enjoying the prequel trilogy. So there are kind of generational things. Anyway, both conversations, the one that happened with ACOB a long time ago, and they kind of dusted over it. and then Ken got into it in a bit more detail, or just happened to discuss in a bit more detail on his show. And in both those cases, they talked about what it was like to be around at that point, and the fact that, you know, although the prequel is seen as like great and all the rest of it now, it wasn't at the time. And I think kind of Brent was kind of almost arguing that that's not the case, but Sean was trying to sort of say, well, no, from the point of view of an adult who had witnessed and seen the original trilogy as a child, as a kid, and enjoyed them, to then go in and watch the... Wait, if I was to... Oh, that's what it was. I was wondering what fell out. It was that... I bet there's not another one here now. Yeah, there is. I'll find out on the floor in a sec. As a child fan of Lego, as a younger fan, what they kind of perceived compared to, you know, what adults perceived at that time was very, very different. And I'm on the side of Sean and Ken, I guess, to some degree, where it was like, I was an adult and I went to see those films in the cinema as an adult when they launched and the prequels came out. And although I was excited for Star Wars, which I'm always excited when new Star Wars content comes out, and I'm excited because, you know, looking at ratings and how many people went to see a film is not an indication of how good it was. It's just an indication of how many people went to see it. And I went to see Phantom Menace, I'll be honest, multiple times. I saw all the Star Wars films multiple times because I feel like you've got to see them a few more times to kind of really get a chance to soak it in. And I'd be wrong to say, make a judgment on it without seeing it multiple times, unless it was, you know, terribly bad. But I honestly remember seeing those films and thinking, not quite what I was expecting. Didn't feel like Star Wars to me. Now, over time, they have grown on me, but it's because times moved on and times changed, and what I didn't regard as Star Wars became part of lore. So everything that I was seeing in those prequel films, which didn't feel like the Star Wars that I knew, because it was very different in a lot of ways, and there was some new ideas and lots of new things, and a lack of practical effects, and that didn't feel Star Warsy to me. But it soon did, because obviously there was a huge like fan following, and obviously merchandise and everything else, and all that stuff came out, and all that did emulate what happened in the 80s and late 70s. It became Star Wars. It became what Star Wars felt like. So that became the new version of Star Wars. And then I kind of over time accepted it. But it wasn't, well, you know, for a lot of adults, it wasn't. I remember speaking to, I mean, didn't have a lot of adult fans of Star Wars at the time, sadly, which is, you know, half the reason why this stream exists, this channel exists, should I say. But, because I like to have people to talk to about it. But I do remember from the 2 or 3 people I did speak to at the time that they were kind of like, and not that it was a bad movie. I mean, it was still a good movie, but I just didn't feel like they were good Star Wars movies at the time. I thought, you know, they were great to watch, and if the title Star Wars hadn't been put up against them, and there was no connection to Star Wars, which, you know, to me there wasn't a lot anyway, then I would have thought they were fantastic movies. But because they weren't what I was expecting, just didn't have that same feel that I was expecting, then I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but I was a bit kind of taken aback. And there was a lot of people who felt that way at the time. And I don't want to get into it too much because I do want this stream to happen, but that's my general opinion. And I spoke to Ken briefly on it, and I know I've spoken to Sean briefly on it, I think in the past, and said, how good would it be to do a stream where we don't talk Lego, but we talk just about Star Wars and about being there at that point in time, and, you know, regardless of what your age was, how that made you feel, and what the kind of vibe was, and what did you experience of it. And yeah, so that's what I really wanted to get into. So I plan to do that stream. Um, plan to do that stream this week, and in fact, it should have been today. And one thing led to another. Couldn't get it off the ground. Couldn't organise a date with everybody, and it ended up not happening, unfortunately. So, but I have just postponed it. So it's not that it's not happening. I've just kind of said we'll try and work out a date that works better for everybody. The original lineup I was hoping for was myself, Ken, Sean, and/or Hive from the kind of older generation who were kind of adults when Star Wars came out. And I was specifically looking for people of a particular age category who are Star Wars fans, out and out Star Wars fans, as opposed to like Lego fans who like Lego Star Wars and various other things. And then from the younger generation, I was hoping to try and get Tyler, Will from Will Bricks Productions, and Brent. So we'd have sort of 3 and 3, 6 of us to talk about two sides of the coin, two different generations, two different kind of groups of ages. That was the plan. Reached out to all those people, and almost all of them said, yeah, they're up for it. I know Tyler was away, he didn't get a chance to reply, but or he is away. But the plan was to have this kind of stream, and it just so happened that once I'd sent that message out and the conversations were going back and forth in terms of I can do this, but I can't do that, blah, 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 I realized that everybody who I'd kind of shortlisted to be on that stream, and at least initially, and I'm happy to kind of spread that out and fill out in some of those gaps with other people. There's lots of people I think would do fantastic at it, don't get me wrong. They were just the people who initially popped into my mind because they'd had those conversations in the past, or I'd had conversations with them in the past, i.e. Ken and Tyler in his show briefly touched on it. I felt like it could be explored more. Sean and Brent had talked about on their show. I know me and Hive had those kind of conversations. So it was only afterwards I realized to myself, wait a sec, if I do get all these people on, particularly if I got all 7 of those people on, we would have the hosts from almost all, not all, but some of the main Lego shows out there. So we'd have Minifig Mindset where we will, you'd have Ken from Brick Dynasty, you'd have Sean and Brent from ACOB. I guess Tyler doesn't really have a chat show, but CB the exception, but Hive from Good One and Brick World. So maybe, probably, now I think about it, could do a part 1 and a part 2 of that, just because I'm thinking that even if we had 6 of those people, that's quite a lot of kind of strong voices, and everybody kind of just talking all over each other and stuff. So yeah, now I think about it, would have been great to be able to get an all-star cast like that together, but the idea is still there, and I still want to I would like to discuss that. I ideally love to be able to have that kind of discussion in person, but to be able to have that kind of discussion on a stream would be like amazing. I really think we can kind of get into it and get to the bottom of it. And I had a kind of working title for the stream as well, which was, it wasn't confirmed because obviously I didn't end up doing it, but the working title for the stream was going to be, is Star Wars even that good? More of a hypothetical question than anything else. But anyway, I just realized that I've not looked at the chat for, again, a long time. So let me just, hopefully I haven't missed much. No, it doesn't look like much, which is great. So, hey, you got you. I'll pop up a British message. Oh wait, according to this, there is no new chat. How strange. No, need to refresh the stream. So my stream had paused on YouTube, which meant the chat had frozen. So the chat hadn't been updated. So I'm going to look now to see how many. Jesus. Oh no, I hadn't missed that many. That's fine. I really want the shot of Tydirium, but it's so expensive. Yeah, I was quite lucky. Legend Force Bricks, I managed to get it relatively cheap, secondhand, but relatively cheap from a friend. I'm more into Star Wars, but I like a lot of Star Trek as well. Lots of filler episodes, sadly, but when there's a good storyline, it's decent. Yeah, I don't think I've ever even watched a full episode. I gotta be honest. So I feel kind of bad saying out about how much I dislike it when I never really watched it. Decided to build Ollivanders. Oh right, I remember you telling me about that, Sarah. Yeah, he's the guy with the wands, isn't he? It's been sat for months waiting for time to get on with it. Ah, awesome, awesome. Joel Bricks is out there. How are we doing, mate? Good evening, Cool Hand Luke. Muttley's in the chat, and all you legends in the chat. Hope everyone is having a great week. Muttley, we were just talking briefly about going ahead and doing a stream for Bricktastic. Well, no, me and Nimble were already gonna do a stream for to talk about conventions in general. So it does come under the same banner. But excuse me, but we thought we might open it up to the Bricktastic lads. So you know, we're going to do a live purchase of the hotel, which I know you're keen to get sorted as well. So you know, I know Joel's going and you're out there, mate. If you want to join the stream on Friday, you can. But yeah, so it's going to be me and Nimble heading up a show on this channel, talking about conventions in general, but we're going to do the first hour maybe just talking about Bricktastic, getting a bit excited. I don't want to go too mad on Bricktastic because we have got an episode of Cool Hang Luke planned after Christmas where Greg London Bridge Bricks is going to come on the show as the guest and talk a little bit about Bricktastic. We'll have a Bricktastic episode where we'll talk a little bit about it, and we won't have been then, so for us it'll be the same as now, where it's just based on, you know, what other people have told us and stuff. So don't want to kind of steal our own thunder for that show. And Greg, shout out to Greg, London Bridge Bricks, who are the official channel connected to Bricktastic now as well. I don't know what that means, and we'll get into that in the show. So that's going to be sort of January time. Please come and check that out. But Greg's a good friend. Really looking forward to that show and getting him on the show at last. But yeah, he is. So yeah, so I don't want to go too much into Bricktastic, but I think maybe if we do a live buy of the thing and have a little bit of back and forth with the guys, and then whoever's there, so Muttley, Whittaky, Slurpee, myself, Nimble, Joel, if they then want to kick about and chat some convention talk. It's going to be non-Lego talk. We'll have a bit of a break from that. It's going to be conventions. Obviously, we'll talk about what's at the convention if there was Lego and stuff, but try to talk more about conventions in general as opposed to being Lego adjacent. So if you're up for that, guys, and you're watching, I know, Muttley, you don't show your face yet. Maybe this will be your first time showing your face in the stream, but if you want to come on with just your icon and join the chat, that's fine too, mate. Totally up to you. So let's have a look. Force Bricks is a Gen Zer. I grew up with the Disney movies. Went to watch The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker in theaters. I had a great time watching them at the time. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, Force Bricks. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people from your generation who I know who I'd want to expose to the type of language and stuff like that. You know, I'm not saying you're a teenager, but the majority of people who were kind of kids watching Force Awakens, let's just say, for example, you were 10. I was only just past the 10-year anniversary of Force Awakens. So, you know, I guess 20 is classed as an adult, especially if you're in the UK. But what I'm saying is I don't know enough people who are out and out Star Wars fans who know a lot about Star Wars, who are adults now, who can, you know, get into banter with the other guys. And that's not any knock to anybody, but I think that's probably a separate stream altogether. I think this is more just about experiencing it as a child, original trilogy, and then seeing the prequel trilogy as an adult and appreciating that. And of course, when I say an adult, not an adult with kids. All of us were old enough to have kids at that point, but probably didn't, and we were just kind of in our late teens, early 20s. But then the people who were, you know, kids when the prequel came out, or younger when the prequel came out, had a very good knowledge of, were fans of Star Wars before that prequel came out still. Probably watched, like Brent, for example, probably watched the Star Wars movies before he went to see Phantom Menace. I like to think so. But you see what I mean? So it's more like an overly, a more rounded fan in two different generations. And I only say that because those two generations, then if we were to do another stream or a part two about the sequel trilogy, both of those generations probably had the same or maybe even a different opinion on it. I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it, but yeah, I think you're right. There is definitely a school of thought there for the people like yourself, Force Bricks, that were. Wait a sec. How's that going to fit on there? Oh, attachment's the wrong piece. That doesn't help. Like yourself, who were, that next generation, that third generation, if you want to say it that way, down, and how those people, accepted both of the previous versions. Definitely really interesting. I'd like to. These are the kind of things I want to get into on the channel. Obviously, the channel was set up as a Lego channel first, and probably a Star Wars channel second, because I do plan to do some Star Wars chat. We've done a couple of convention type things on here, but yeah, I would like to get into it long term a little bit more and start exploring the idea, exploring some more kind of Star Wars and Lego adjacent stuff, and do those kind of streams once in a blue moon. I don't think I could. I kind of, I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't say I'm not into Star Wars enough, but I think most of my focus around Star Wars is around Lego now and the Lego community. So I don't really, because it's a lot to try and keep up with at once, I don't tend to. There was a time where I'd know when the new Star Wars movie was coming out, and I'd know, done that wrong. I'd know about it weeks in advance, and I'd watch like Star Wars YouTube channels and leaks and rumors about when the Star Wars, the next Star Wars movie was coming out, and when it's coming out, what date, and all that kind of stuff. And I knew all the information, like all the bootleg information. Whereas being part of that community, or trying to sort of keep in touch with that community, as well as the community that I'm actively involved in, which is the Lego community, it just got really, really difficult to keep up. And of course, over the last kind of year or so, there hasn't been that much Star Wars content. It's kind of wavered off a little bit. And in that period of time, I just kind of completely fell out of the loop. So I don't know. I totally forgot until I saw the film poster the other day at the cinema. I totally forgot that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie was even coming out. And that's not because I dislike it or anything. It's just purely because I haven't been surrounding myself with all that kind of information. And like I said, there was a time where there was a new TV show or a movie or an animated show, live action show on the horizon, and they were overlapping each other. Whereas since Andor, and even then, kind of prior to Andor and since Andor, there hasn't really been a lot going on. And I feel like Andor kind of flew under the radar a little bit in terms of being like big news. I mean, it was a great show, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't as, I don't feel like it was as, and again, this is the kind of thing I like talking about. So I don't feel like it was as kind of widely covered and as kind of big news, not because it isn't big news, but because there's just so much other stuff going on that it just kind of gets lost. It's like these films that come out in the cinema, which are fantastic movies, but they happen to come out at the same time as a blockbuster. I don't think that's as much of an issue anymore, because people go to the cinema regularly, but there was a time, not even that long ago, maybe 10 years or so ago, where people went to the cinema once a week. So they just picked whatever was out. And films, live or die by how many people go to see them, or how well they're received. And I remember there being films that came out in the cinema which were perfectly great movies, and I didn't get to see them at all because they came out at the same time as a Star Wars movie. and they just happened to get to the point where like these film studios used to find out when the next Star Wars movie was coming out and avoid releasing a film because they knew it would just get, you know, smashed to pieces at the box office because people weren't going to go and see it when they could go and see the new Star Wars movie or whatever. Same with any big blockbuster movie like the Avengers movies and stuff. Same kind of thing happened with them. And I think that you know, that's a little bit like what's gone on with Star Wars in recent years. I feel like it's been a bit, I wouldn't say, it's just kind of watered down with everything else that's going on in the world. Like I used to read Empire magazine regularly. I subscribed to it, and I used to, you know, obviously read every issue cover to cover, and I knew what films were coming out, who was going to be in them. Because I was a huge, well, I still am a huge movie fan. But then it just got to the point where I was getting my new Empire magazine, and I hadn't read the last one, and movies were coming out, and people were telling me about them, and I'm like, oh, I should have known about that. I, you know, subscribe to a magazine that tells me this stuff. And I just got to that point where I was just like, you know what, it's not that I dislike it or I've fallen out of love with that thing, and you know, don't still have respect for it or anything like that. But I'm just clearly at the point now where there's just so much other stuff that I'm involved with, or so many other areas, hobbies, interests that I've got that, you know, I wouldn't say it took a back seat, but I had to share. You know, there's too much. There's only so much of my time and energy that I've got, and unfortunately, I just have to kind of give up on it. So now I very rarely know what movies are coming out, and even when I did stop reading Empire magazine, I continue to know what was going on out in the film world because I watch, like I said, these kind of YouTube channels and things like that, and just keep up to date with what movies were coming out. But I haven't done that for years now, so I have no clue. You know, I know when a new movie's coming out when I go to the cinema to watch something else and the trailer for it comes on. And I just don't get excited about movies coming out anymore. Not because of the movie itself, but because there's just so much other stuff going on. Anyway, right, going to take a short break there because there's a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, I'm really disappointed with this. The camera won't pick it up, I know it won't. But these large, oh, that's probably see it better there. These large kind of triangular pieces, I don't know what you want to call them. I'm trying to pull them off so you guys can see it in a bit more detail. These kind of large, slow pieces, there is only 3 of them on the set, but they are particularly yellow on one side. And normally I'd say, well, he's obviously left that out in the sun or near a window or light has got on it, and that's caused them to yellow slightly. But 2 things that kind of dissuade me from thinking that's actually true is, one is the other side of them is whiter, the edge is yellow, this side is yellow. But looking at all the other bricks, I don't see any yellowing on them, really, at all, on either side. And there's not enough bricks in here that I've used different ones. Like some of the bricks on here only exist on here. So why would they be yellowed slightly one side and not the other for all the bricks? Even if it's not all the same side. But I mean, using these smaller pieces as an example, you can only put these on one way. So specifically, so what I'm trying to say is if these on this side are yellowed, these on this side should also be yellowed, and they're not. And then the bricks that can be used 2 ways, like the 1x1s and the 1x2s and the 3, 4, 5 high bricks, they should be yellow on at least on one side, and none of them are. In fact, apart from maybe 1 or 2 that look a little bit discoloured, they're all pretty much as white as new on either both sides. Yeah, on both sides. So that's really weird. Because like I said, statistically, well, strictly speaking, yeah, these 3, if they're yellow here, then these ones would have been facing out this side as well, because you can't turn them around. And there's no other bricks like that You know, the only like what a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these only exist on this bit of the whole ship. So why are these yellowed slightly and these side haven't? So whether it was just kind of like this towards like a window, so the front and the side have gone a little bit yellow, but then everything further back hasn't, which seems odd. I'm starting to think that maybe it might be me, especially, you know, trying to explain the other bricks, because I built this set, or started building this set about 2 months ago. Built a little bit and left it, and I had it on this tray. I did cover it though. No, I did. I had it covered. I had like sheets and stuff over it. I'm starting to think that maybe because of where I've had it, which is right in the middle of the room, on a tray, between building, maybe the lights, because I know if they're under the, especially if you've got like warm lights, yellow lights, they can tend to take the colour out of them, especially if it's just sat under the lights. But it can be that because A, I had it covered. B, that still wouldn't explain why only those three are yellowed. And C, it hasn't been that long. And the light is almost never on in this room, because even when I stream, I only have the ring lights on, which are nowhere near it. So that is weird. That is weird. I'm kind of, as I'm putting them on, I'm like, oh, I'm gutted, these have yellowed. And I thought, well, hang about, well, how are they yellowed and nothing else have? That is odd. Anyway, I'm going to take a break there. Catch up with some chat again. Oh, I've seen a comment about Christmas sets. I missed that, sorry. Let me try and catch up. Yeah, I went on a bit of a mad one there, didn't I? How do I scroll up and down the chat? Why will it not let me? Oh, there it is. Couldn't see the bar. Why does it keep disappearing? Oh, that's why. Done this. Oh. I'm gonna have to refresh this again because the chat is frozen again for some reason. Conscious of the fact that Kirsty is going to be due home around about 7 o'clock-ish. Right, there we go. Ah, stop it. I'm not sure why, but for some reason, I can scroll up and down the page. Why will it not? It only highlights it when I'm not anywhere near it. Okay. I really need like a laptop that's got actual buttons instead of one of these tap pads, because I can never get it to work. I'm trying to scroll up the comments, but either scrolls the whole page up and down. This is why I don't like not having StreamYard on the go. Or it's trying to delete messages because I'm trying to click on the messages, but you can't click anywhere else. Like if you click next to the message, it's still clicking the message. There's no like empty box around the messages. So I can't find a way to. I'm only seeing like the last couple of messages, and if I'm gonna have to leave YouTube. It's weird because when I first came onto YouTube, I was just pressing up and down with the cursor, and it was going up and down the chat on its own. Whereas now the whole page is going up and down. So I don't know why that's about. YouTube is just not user friendly at all. And when I'm pressing up and down, I'm just trying to put the volume up and down. Why is it doing that? I got the volume off anyway. It just want to scroll and see the chat. All right, let's get rid of the chat and let's put it back on and see if that helps. Sorry guys, I can't see the chat. So I can't actually read anything, so I don't know what anyone's saying because it won't let me scroll through it. It's just being weird. It's just moving the entire screen up and down rather than the actual chat itself. Whereas earlier it was fine. I was just pressing up and down on the cursor and it was going up and down. Now it's just, even when I click on the chat box, it just highlights, it just asks me if I want to delete that comment. It doesn't let me scroll up and down it, so I can't actually see what anybody's saying, which is kind of freaking pointless. Why? So when I go up and down on the screen, then now it's going up and down. Fine. What the hell's that all about? Anyway, right, got to catch up with some messages, so I do apologise, guys. Right, how far back was I? Good evening, Kuan. Genzia, I'm pretty good, thanks. Just building a mushroom village and thought I'd pop in whilst building. Ah, nice one, mate. Yeah, mushroom village. Oh, is that the Brick Link Designer Program one? If I remember rightly. I wonder if Bricktastic would allow something similar to Brickworld where you'd be able to live stream at Bricktastic. Yeah, I was going to ask Greg about that when he's on the show. I'm not going to reach out to him just yet because I feel like I got no skin in the game. And to just kind of out of nowhere go, hey, can I stream at your thing? And not only that, but if Greg is the official show or his official channel or whatever it is, he may have kind of like the only bragging rights to do that. Whether he actually does a show there or not, I don't know. But he may be kind of like, he owns the rights to it. What I would like to do, though, now that you've mentioned it, is London Bridge Bricks does a live show on Friday night, 7:30 p.m. UK time. And we'll be there, and so will Greg at that point, I believe, unless he's traveling down on the day. So it'd be interesting to see if, we could do a kind of cheeky collab with him Friday night, or see if we can pop on the show live from the hotel or something like that, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely I have considered that, Joel, but I tend to be a bit more reserved with places I'm familiar with. Brickworld was a little bit different because obviously other people we knew quite well had done streams and stuff from there, so we were relying quite heavily on them and they were there to help us out with it. But with a new environment like that, a show we've never even attended before, I don't know, I feel a bit cheeky kind of asking, but also a little bit uncomfortable not knowing what the setup is. So I really don't want to lug all my stuff up there unless I really have to. So we will see, but I'm definitely doing, and of course, if we had a stream that was due to go live at the time we were at Bricktastic, then I'd explore a bit more. But we're already doing a Cool Hang show. I'm going to have to do it from the hotel on Sunday night because Whittaker will be travelling, Slurpee will be travelling back to Ireland. Nimble will be probably home by that point. So I might be on my own, but I'll be in even if I left when the show finished on Sunday, I wouldn't get back in time to do it or even be on it. So somebody's got to do it. So I guess I'll just do it from the hotel room. Best Lego Christmas set. I'm going with the Home Alone house. We did a show on rating all the Christmas sets. I can't remember what the winner was, but I would probably agree with you on that one. Home Alone house is mint. I also like the Nightmare Before Christmas house. Argue if you will if it's a Halloween or a Christmas set, but I think the truth is in the name. But I actually think that's pretty cool, and we're a Nightmare Before Christmas house, so that gets my vote. Yeah, when the Force Awakens came out, I was 10, and yeah, that does qualify you as a kid then. And obviously, I know you're not a kid now, but I think what I was trying to say is that even the kids who came out, I mean, you may have as well, actually. So this is probably a dull argument, but I was saying that even when those people like Brent, who was a child when the prequels came out, he will have probably already grown up on Star Wars a little bit. I'm not sure whether that's the case for you, whether you'd seen all the the first six movies before you went to the cinema and watched the sequels. I'm only saying that because that's for most kids around about that time in my work, like obviously in the job I do, and you're chatting to kids who are coming in and buying like the Force Awakens books and activity packs and all the stuff we used to sell that was related to it. Most of those kids only knew those characters and only knew that franchise and knew Kylo Ren. And you mentioned like, oh, who would win between Darth Maul and Kylo Ren? And they'd be like, who? And you're like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, who do you think's better, Darth Vader or Kylo Ren? And they were like, who's Darth Vader? And I'm like, oh, okay. So it was kind of like that, basically. So I'm judging on that, basically. But yeah, it has changed completely, and I agree with you there, Force Brick, definitely. But I felt like that it took. The point is of the chat is that we felt like it took as adults who grew up on the original trilogy of Star Wars. We felt like it took a massive right turn. I wouldn't say a 180, but it took a massive 90-degree turn when the prequels came out. Whereas now, you would class both those trilogies, someone from your generation, and even people who came out who watched the movies in that generation, would say that that was Star Wars for them. It was part of the bigger franchise. Whereas for us, it was these three films and then these three films. Not saying that these are better necessarily or these are worse, but these are Star Wars and these are three films that are kind of trying to be Star Wars, but it's not. But then over the course of time, when more, like obviously the second film came out, third film came out, Clone Wars came out, which kind of bolstered that trilogy more. And then we had things, Lego sets and stuff that were coming out. That became the wider franchise. But at the time, particularly when Phantom Menace came out, it was like, well, the Star Wars franchise is kind of this road, and then just this side road going off is Phantom Menace. That's how I felt. It's like, but of course, that road led to a metropolis where all roads led to anyway, if that makes sense. So that's like kind of the best way I can describe it, I guess. But the Christmas X-Wing, that's a good shout there, Nimble. Yeah, didn't think of that. I recently bought Heir to the Empire book trilogy by Timmy Zahn. I'm looking forward to reading it and the other expanded universe. Yeah, so I've got the that trilogy, and I do have, I think, one of the extended trilogies past that, the Thrawn one. I can't remember which trilogy it is. I think there's the one that came straight after that one. I know there's been another trilogy, the Ascendancy trilogy as well, but I only read the first book of Timothy Zahn, Heir to the Empire. I thought it was fantastic, but it was a tough read. And weirdly, and this is a really good point you bring up, Legend Bricks, because I keep calling you Legend Bricks. Sorry, your icon is very similar to his. Force Bricks. Weirdly, it's for the opposite reason to what I was just arguing. In that when I read those books, because I've read them, I think in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I read that first book in the last 6 years, but that came out. That was like the first book that came out that was kind of Star Wars related, from what was then the expanded universe and now Legends. Came out like the late 80s, only a few years after Star Wars. Star Wars hadn't even kind of died off as like a major, franchise and a huge thing. People were still talking about those movies right up until early 90s, and that's round about the time they came out. I think it was the late 80s or early 90s. I didn't read them then, but reading them now after soaking up all of the Star Wars universe as it currently exists and this kind of bigger world, I found it hard to read because it's very, very much original trilogy based, and there's a lot of things in there that kind of wouldn't work now if written now because of the way we know that the universe now exists, because obviously they've created it that way. So I'm reading it and I'm just like, this is. And I wouldn't say I found it a tough read. It was exciting, but it was very much felt like I was like reading McDonald's menu from 1980, where you're seeing like Big Mac was 39 cents, and the way the wording is used and the terminology, and just it kind of just felt old-fashioned Star Wars, and I struggled with that a little bit. So I haven't read the other two from that trilogy. I've got them, but I haven't got around to reading them. They are on the list though. But glad you've been enjoying, definitely. Um, Next year will be a good year for Star Wars, more animated series, Ahsoka season 2, and Mando movie. Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be back on the agenda a little bit. But I don't think any of those particular things that you're talking about are world shaking, nimble, if that makes sense. Like when the trilogies came out, or any of the other movies, there was a big rumbling about them, big talk about them. The shows don't have that kind of impact. I think Star Wars has come to the point now where it's kind of like Marmite for a lot of people. You either love it and you like everything, or you've walked away from it and don't like Disney or whatever. And it's just very kind of niche again now. In a way, it's kind of sad to see this, but if it went from being like everybody loved it in the 80s and it was like everywhere and every kid liked it, to just waning off. And then in the kind of mid 90s, which is when I kind of, really kind of got into the franchise as a whole, as opposed, because there was no movies to watch, it became like a nerd thing, and it was kind of uncool to be. That's a kid's thing. It's like watching He-Man or playing with toys when you're an adult, kind of thing at that point. And people weren't collecting. There was no like collectible action figures back then like there is now, not for adults. So, it was kind of weird. And then Lego came out and kind of rebirthed it, but it was mostly in line with Phantom Menace, because most of those original sets that came out were from the newer films, which makes sense for Lego, and they kind of went off, and then they Clone Wars, and they expanded, and it just became, and then the AFOL community has been born over the last sort of 10-15 years. It's relatively new. So, adults mixed in with Lego was just become but it became, like, I would say 10-15 years ago, not even that, less than, I'd say maybe 5 to 6 years ago, it became a thing where it's like it was everywhere again. So it went from being everywhere to not cool to kind of everywhere to kind of falling off a little bit after the sequel trilogy finished, and there was nothing. And then Disney bought in, and it became everywhere again, and everybody's into it, everyone liked it. Then it kind of fell off again, and I feel like that's where we are at now. And I feel like it's going to take another big, like, one random film isn't going to do that. If they were releasing another trilogy, I feel like, the hype would build back up again. But I feel like at the moment, I wouldn't say it's dead, but I feel like it's kind of like, fourth or fifth page news rather than front page news like it was a couple of years back. So it's kind of lost its appeal for a lot of people, and people are kind of bored of it. And I speak to people who, aren't Star Wars fans, and I mention I'm a Star Wars fan, and they're just kind of like, ugh. They talk about it the way they talk about, like, I feel like people talk about or regard it the way they do other annoying things that are kind of being around and about and being kind of shoved in their face. For an example, like that whole chicken thing when people watch Minecraft, and people just like, ugh, yeah, just, I'm over hearing about this. That's the kind of same response I get when I talk about Star Wars now. People are just like, ugh, that had its day. Not for us, obviously, because we're in it. But from an outside point of view, I feel like people are like, yeah, it's gone on long enough now. It's time to move on. So, yeah, because like Force Bricks rightly points out, even the adults who are kind of into Star Wars because their kids were into it back in when The Force Awakens came out, and even what Rise of Skywalker, they're probably not kids anymore. So their parents have already kind of started getting rid of those toys and put them in the attic and bored of them. You know what I mean? So there's just not that respect for it at the moment, unfortunately. I'm lukewarm to new Star Wars, sadly, and set the bar so high that I think I think we will just get Tosh for a while. I haven't heard that word for years. Tosh. For a while to come. Mando movie Muse potential for a fun one. I'm not sure if that Muse was a typo, but yeah, I think Mando movie will be good. But I feel like Disney are trying to make movies and TV shows for the masses, and I think they're failing to do that. And in doing that, they're ostracizing some of the fans. Whereas I feel like they should be making films for the fans, because it's such a big fandom that they're still appealing to like 60% of the population, which is most of the population. But they're trying to appeal to, I think they're trying too hard to appeal to new fans, and younger fans, and then it, for an adult fan watching something that's designed for a kid to watch, when those kids that didn't grow up on Star Wars, it's kind of like kind of cringe. So I kind of get what you're saying there, Ultra, to some extent. But as long as they're trying to do a bit of both, I don't mind. So, and they've been doing like the Bad Batch with Andor season 1 and mixing it up a little bit. But at the moment, I feel like that Maul animated series will be more for the Maul fans, and fans old and new. But I just don't think it's going to be very dark. I don't think it's going to be as dark as we think it's going to be. I think it's going to be very much Clone Wars based, which was quite. I mean, I've read the Darth Maul graphic novels. I forget the names of both of them at the moment. I think there might even be 3, and they were dark. They were really dark, and they touched a little bit on that in Clone Wars, but overall, it was generally kind of kid friendly. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I'd like them to go like the route of like the new Predator movies, where it's good storyline, but it's still kind of like dark and gory. I want to see like some merciless death kind of thing. I shouldn't really just say things like I just get clipped saying I want to see merciless death. I mean in Star Wars, I want to see an adult. I want to see an 18 plus. We all wanted an 18 plus Marvel, and we got Deadpool, and it's still funny, it's still hilarious, but it's very, very kind of adult humor, adult gore, and adult themes. I feel like even without the humor, that would work with Star Wars if they did like a Darth Maul as an 18 plus TV series. Those big Trangopass seem very susceptible to yellowing. Yeah, that might be what it is. Maybe it's just they've just soaked it up for whatever reason. I mean, they're tuppeny a piece, I think, so I should be able to order a few. I might even have. I'm pretty sure I got some of these in my spares, but I dare say they're probably more yellowed. But I'll have a look. I'll check it out. Unless, wait, did I replace these myself, and that's why? No, I couldn't have. I didn't. No, I couldn't have, because they would have been in my missing parts on Bricklink. All the other Star Wars shows are out of the water. It clearly shows, especially Acolyte. Yeah, but even the Acolyte, I felt like it was family friendly. I wouldn't say it was pure shite. There was a lot of parts about that were cringy. The lightsaber duels in there were pretty good. The overall theme was pretty good. Spitting fast, nimble. Oh, Kirsty's on the way. I think I just heard it come in, actually. They didn't even touch the Acolyte. Or if they did, they pulled the sets after seeing the show. Yeah. I think they do wait now, Lego. They're a bit more clever, and they do wait to see if something lands well with the community before they do a set on it. Because they didn't do anything. They did one set for Andor, and it wasn't widely well received. Nobody really bought it. It was well overpriced. And then he didn't do anything for the second one. But there was loads of sets they could have and should have released for both those seasons. Sadly, we won't get them, just because they dropped the ball a little bit with that taster they gave us. I believe there is a piece missing. I think it's me. Unbelievably, there is a piece missing. I think it's me. What, in the Ollivanders? I thought you already said there was 6 pieces missing. I'm sorry if I'm trying to do too many conversations. By the way, I'm Legend. You are Legend, right? Okay, so I don't feel so bad now for calling you Legend Bricks. I'm pretty sure your icon is exactly the same or very similar. Right, so you are Legend Bricks, but I changed my name. Felt a little generic, so yeah. Ah, well done. Yeah, amazing. There you go. So I don't feel like such an idiot now, because sometimes when I call people by the names, I get names mixed up. I feel terrible. Also, I did watch the main 6 before I watched the sequel, so I knew the lore, the main timeline, should I say. Ah, there you go then. Yeah, so I kind of apologise then, because I didn't really mean it that way. I just meant that I think there's more gravitas around the feeling of those 2 sequels. But I think you're probably right. There's probably an extension on that discussion where it's like, we had our own kids. That first generation had our own kids, and in some cases the second generation had their own kids by the time the third generation came up. And how do they receive it now? Because like my daughter's forgotten Star Wars exists, and she grew up on the sequel trilogy. But you know, she loved those characters, and she connects more with those characters than probably some of the older ones. But I don't think she really cares about her in general now. So just doesn't have the it just doesn't have the staying power like it used to have. Liam bricked the bed. G'day, Liam. Probably getting closer to morning for you right now. So I have a piece missing from Ollivanders. The others were missing from a creative set. Oh, the fish toucan. Is that the smaller fish toucan, or oh no, there's a polybag toucan. Yeah, I've seen the 3-in-1 toucan. I didn't realise it was a fish with it. What's the third set then? Is it like a penguin or something? I have seen that. That one looks pretty good. 3-in-1 and knocking out the pack. Right, so the 6 pieces were missing from. I got that mixed up. Sorry, Sarah. And you got a piece missing from Ollivanders. Kirsty says that, and Maya, whenever they're building a Lego set, fresh out of the box, mind you, because I've never bought. I don't think I've ever bought second-hand sets for them. And they'll always be like, "Oh, there's a piece missing. There's a piece missing," and I'll be like, "There it is." And Maya gets annoyed, my daughter, because I do it all the time. I said, "Yeah, but look, just keep looking." And she likes to do the same as me and dump all the bags out. But Kirsty has pieces missing all the time, and she doesn't do that. The other thing that Kirsty does, which I think is quite funny, is that she'll give me her spares, which is great for me. So I'm like, yeah, more spares for the tin. Sometimes she'll give me spares, and I'll be like, right, those 6 pieces aren't spares. She says, what do you mean? They wouldn't give you those as spares. It'll be like, one of these. And I'm like, they won't give you that as a spare. Generally, spares are one stud pieces, or smaller pieces, you know, that you have multiples of in a set. But you know, even things like this, they wouldn't give you spares of. So I'm like, yeah, they're missing. And then she'd be like, oh no, I gotta go back through the instructions now and see where they're missing from. Bear in mind, I haven't looked at the instructions or the set at all the whole time she's been building it, and I'll be like, yeah, it's missing from there, there, and there. Like, how'd you do that? But for any of you guys out there, if you're unsure, if you go onto Bricklink, I don't even think you need an account to do this. Find the set you're looking for. Just type in the search bar the name or the number of the set, and then it'll bring the set up. And then just below the picture of the set, there's a little tab that says Set Inventory. Click on that. I'll show you all the pieces that are in the set in case you wanted to check. With a new set, you shouldn't have to. But what it'll also do is if you get to the bottom of that list, it'll show you a list of spares. And that's the spares that you will get with the set. And every time I've checked, because let's say I've done a set, like a small set, and I've had like 20 spares, and I'm like, this seems like too many. They're all the type of pieces you would have spares of, but it seems like a lot. And I'll go in on Bricklink and I'll check, and it's always right. And sometimes just for fun, I've gone on and looked at the spares for a set, and they always match 100%. I know obviously there's going to be times when that doesn't. Like there's going to be times when you're missing parts from a new build. But every time I've checked, for whatever reason, posterity or whatever, there's always the pieces that are listed on Bricklink as the spares are correct to what you get. So if you're ever unsure when you build, you can check there. I want to do some kind of like how-to guides on using Bricklink for like starters, because I've spoken to them or guided them through. I don't know why why did I just have a notification saying I'm live? Was I not live the whole time? What just happened? Just had a notification come on YouTube on my phone and go, you're now live. I've been speaking to myself the whole time. I feel like because I don't see people doing that. I feel like it's quite, I want to be doing it with a set, because otherwise it's just kind of me talking with the screen on. But I would like to do something like that and be like, say I'm building a mock and be like, right, this is how I would build a mock, or I'm parting out a set, this is how I would part it out. Just give some guided instructions. I think for people out there, if you're watching this stream or not, who are trying to get into that kind of world and the greater world of Lego building, it is a very useful tool. I don't know where I'd be without Bricklink. So whether you're a mock builder or not, so it'd be nice to have somebody who can guide people through it. I'm going to start rather. Oh, what I missed. I had to stop anyway. The dog is freaking out with the noise outside. Next door's dog's barking. Oh yeah, car. Yeah, I can hear them going off. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but as I mentioned earlier, Guy Fawkes night here, or fireworks night, or bonfire night. Guy Fawkes night, aka bonfire night, aka fireworks night, here in the UK, and unfortunately, it's very distressing for animals. So um, we were fortunate when we had two dogs living with us. They weren't particularly bothered about it. We just had like TV or something on, and they wouldn't really notice. But yeah, I feel for the people, and just so you know, even though I don't actually have a pet at the moment, we don't do fireworks in this household. Not a big fan. Um, not much building going on. Liam, get on it, mate. Not sure how Mike can forget Star Wars exists in our house. Well, yeah, I meant that kind of loosely, but what I mean is that she's not like, if it wasn't for me, it would have just been any other passing trend. And that's the point that I'm making in the current way we are. I think for kids now, it's not something that becomes a lifelong thing like it did. And that's why I'm quite keen to future-proof Lego. And I'd like to future-proof Star Wars. I don't know how I do that. But um, I think kids were into it when the films were out, and then they just moved on to something else, just like any other franchise, as it comes and goes. It's not kind of got that long-lasting effect now as it did. And I'm only talking from the point of view of my daughter, but anybody else out there with kids who kind of grew up, and their generation was the Force Awakens kind of generation. Then, in most cases, I think they've probably moved on now. It's not like whereas I was like into Star Wars and the action figures and talking about Star Wars for years afterwards, right up until an adult. Even though at that point I didn't know more movies were going to come out. There was never any talk of it between 1983 and 1998. So you're talking like 15 years where there was nothing, not even a glimmer of there being any other Star Wars, and I was still into it. And I probably still would be if those prequel films never came out. You know what I mean? So I just don't see it resounding anymore like it used to, which is unfortunate. It's just not different enough to everything else that's out there, whereas Star Wars at the time was groundbreaking and it remained that way for years. My dad watched the original trilogy in theatres back in the 70s and 80s, so he contributed to introducing me to the awesome franchise. Your dad is doing everything right there, Force Bricks. Legend. That is your superpower. What is my superpower? Sorry, I'm catching up with the chat now, Kirsty, so I'm only now seeing that, and I don't know what you're talking about at the moment. Gotta shoot, mate. Drop you a WhatsApp later. Ta-ra. Thanks, Nimble. Thanks for joining us. Force Bricks, I'm sure you answered the question millions of times, but which Star Wars film is your favourite? Rogue One. So even as an original trilogy person and a fan of the trilogies, I actually like something that's not trilogy. It's Disney era, and it's kind of the newer generation. But I still think it's the best, and it feels like they made that to feel like Star Wars. So that makes me feel like the original Star Wars. If Rogue One had come out as it exists in the late 90s, I wouldn't have had that kind of itchy feeling of it just didn't feel like Star Wars to me. And I know it couldn't have because obviously the way it's made, but to me that wasn't as jarring as a difference to Star Wars that I knew as a kid as Phantom Menace was. The third option is a butterfly, but one of the pieces missing meant I couldn't build that enough. The fish, at least, is the fish. At least it was at back. Oh, that's a shame. So those 6 pieces basically messed it up. Oh, that's frustrating. We're saying goodbye to Nimble. What would be really good if you could do? That would be really good if you could do that. I'd love to redo the tops of Ollivanders and Madam Makings as they've no roof. Really good if I could do that. Oh, I'm assuming you mean talking through Bricklink. I'm not sure how that would help you to redo something, unless you were just reordering pieces. And I don't know what Madam Melkins is. I'm assuming it's Harry Potter based. But is it because those pieces are damaged or missing or old? But yeah, if you just want to reorder pieces that are either missing or need replacing or whatever, for whatever reason, for a particular set, then yeah, Bricklink is your place to go. And you know you got the right piece then as well, rather than going to Lego where so many variations of piece that you could get it home, like I've done in the past. Be like, right, this is the piece I need to replace this, and then realize it's slightly different. Bricklink will obviously give you the exact part piece from that set. Your superpower is finding lost Lego pieces and knowing which pieces are not spares. Oh, right, yeah. I think it's just from being surrounded by it for so long. It's not, yeah. More experience than I think superpower, but yeah, definitely. They made them with no roof. I have zero idea why, so I want to mock up a roof somehow. So that might be a little bit more difficult because Bricklink won't necessarily help you with that. Bricklink is more to do with parts, and if you know what you want to build, you can order the parts. And when it comes to mocks, Bricklink is the second piece of equipment you need next to another site, an example of which, and probably the leading site, is Rebrickable. So Rebrickable is where the mocks are, but Rebrickable links to Bricklink directly, which means if you see something on Rebrickable, let's just say, for example, you see I don't know what you're into. Let's go Star Trek. The only thing I could think of is a bit more out there. No, let's go Doctor Who. Keep it Welsh. Doctor Who's TARDIS, right? Doesn't exist in Lego yet, or at least not like a decent sized version. You want to build one of those because you're a Doctor Who fan. You go on to Rebrickable, which is a site that contains mocks that other people have made, or variations of different things, all sorts of stuff. You type in the search bar Doctor Who or TARDIS or whatever, and it'll show you some examples. Pick the one you like. You've got a choice whether you pick like a premium one, which is generally better building instructions and then more closer to Lego, they're more sturdier. But sometimes very good ones are also available for free, but the premium ones are generally you've got to pay for. Not usually a lot of money because you're not paying for anything physically, you're paying for a digital copy of the instructions. But there's a lot on there for free. Don't sleep on the free ones, because I've had some free ones that are far more superior than paid ones. But you download the instructions, which will, you'll have them on your device then, so you will have to look at your phone or print them out if you want paper copy. But you also, within that, and you can do this for free, even for sets that you've got to pay for. So say, for example, there's a TARDIS on there and they want 99p for the building instructions. Even if you don't want to buy the building instructions, I mean, it'd be pointless doing it otherwise, but you can still take a link from that page, upload it into Bricklink, and it'll automatically give you all the pieces for that set. It's like a couple of clicks of a button. And then you'll have a list of all the parts. So you could then order those parts and have them delivered and have them sitting in front of you without even having buying the instructions, which would kind of be pointless. Because unless you're like me and you like the challenge, with the limited pictures that are available, you're not going to be able to build it anyway. So you buy the instructions, but obviously if it's free, even better. There's one on there for free, a TARDIS. Download the instructions for free. They're on your phone. Click another button. Open copy the link into Bricklink. Bricklink will show you all the parts. You add it to your wanted list. You name it TARDIS, and that's it. You've got all the parts. And then you go through the purchasing process, which is another whole thing. It's quite complicated, but easy when you know how. The parts arrive. You've got your instructions. You build it just like you would a normal set, and there you go. So in terms of building something, replace like roofs, where you're saying that these sets haven't got roofs for whatever reason, Bricklink's not really going to help you there. What you could do is go into Rebrickable, which is again easy enough to get on, and you go maybe type in the name of whatever it's called, roof for Ollivanders, and you'll probably find that because it's Harry Potter and it's big, same as Star Wars. I'm almost certain you'll find somebody on there who has mocked up either a whole new house using those bricks and then mold for the roof, or just a roof, as an attachment mock for the thing. And then, again, pay for it. If you have to, get it for free either way. And then download that list of parts, order them when they arrive, follow them, build them, stick it on. Job done. But yeah, essentially what I was trying to say is you still need those two elements not just Bricklink. But I could, yeah, you're right, I could. That's a perfect example I might use as a live example. And if I get around to it, I can probably show you that anyway, if you really want to do that, without making a kind of video about it. But yeah. But of all the Disney films, Rogue One is the best. It's pretty good, and alongside Andor, of course. Yeah, 100%. The way they kind of linked it up like that was really good. They made them Winnow Road 5-0 deal with. So that where's a Lego Doctor Who set with the TARDIS? There is, but it's like the little one, isn't it? It's the little Dimensions one. I don't think it's like a full-size set. I mean, that TARDIS you can build with spare parts. It's either fireworks or someone's trying to escape from Cool Hand's closet. Yeah, no, it's definitely fireworks. They're absolutely popping off. And I live in quite a small, I wouldn't say it's a gated community, but it's a kind of closed off community. I mean, obviously it's not like, we've got security or anything at the gates. I don't want to say anything like that, but it's like a private housing estate. And it's not like, there's no kind of like through traffic, if that makes sense. Like you only drive in these streets if you live here. You can't kind of drive through the estate like you can most housing estates. So it's, without that sounding kind of weird. So it feels more community when you're walking around in this area. And for that reason, then people tend to have more of these displays and stuff, or they'll have one big display for everybody as opposed to everybody setting off fireworks in each other's gardens. So I do expect it to be busy. Same with Halloween. Like, I probably had more people knock the door for trick or treat in the first Halloween we were here than I have in all the other places I've lived over the last 40 odd years put together. Like, we literally looked out the window. I'd worked a night shift Thursday going into Friday, so I'd worked like a 16-hour night shift. So by the time I went to bed, it was like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up around about 5 o'clock. And I looked out my window, and the area we live in is like there's a kind of square opposite us, and obviously all the streets were kind of closed off or whatever, and there was kids everywhere. It was pandemonium. You think it looked like a schoolyard. There was just kids everywhere doing trick or treating, and it was just, and of course because there's no real traffic, people are just walking across the road and walking down the road. It's a little bit like seeing the movie E.T. where they trying to take E.T. down the street and they just put a sheet over him and he bumps into Yoda, and there's just kids everywhere trick-or-treating, like American style, like it's like a big thing. That's what it's like in this housing estate, whereas I'd never seen that anywhere else I've lived, regardless of where it is. You get the odd person now and then, but not like the hordes and hordes of people coming. Carnage, absolute carnage. The only problem is that year we decided to go all out and this year we decided to go all out and get like sweets and stuff for the kids and dress up a little bit. The previous year we were kind of not really prepared, and by the time Kirsty came home, that horde of kids kind of dispersed and there was nobody, because obviously they're mostly younger kids, so they were like back at home by like 7 o'clock. So by the time we were ready to start answering the door like 7:30, barely anybody around except for the older kids who were just taking about. Like, so is it Whittaky locked in there? No, mate. He is in the closet, but not in mine. I'm cooking dinner and watching the fireworks out the window. Oh, amazing. Have a nice evening. The rugby club are having a big display. Oh, there you go. So that's just over the back of us. What's for dinner, Kirsty? So I've got a lot more pieces left than I would have liked to have had. And if it wasn't for the fact that Kirsty's cooking dinner and I've got housework to do, I would have probably carried on. It's frustrating that I've really only built this and maybe a few parts on this in the whole time I was streaming. It just goes to show that I'm definitely not very good at multitasking, and also that I'm definitely a better talker than I am a builder in terms of what comes naturally. So yeah, sorry for that, guys. I know you don't necessarily come here for the builds, but last thing I want to do is set a reputation as the guy that does a build stream and doesn't build anything. Although I think I probably got that reputation already. But it was awesome hanging out with you guys. Would love to stay and chat. There's probably if tonight's stream is anything to go by, there's probably enough parts here for another 3 streams. I mean, I was only going to do an hour as well. I thought I'll get this finished in an hour. Such a noob. But no, I just want to say that I'm going to call it a day here. Sorry if you were hoping that I was going to finish. Great to see up to, I think, 19 or 20 people at one point in the stream. Not necessarily even the same 19 or 20. So, you know, it'd be great to see the views on tonight's show. Would have liked to see that same number in the likes. So anybody who's still here, whether you're lurking or twerking or working or whatever you're doing, and if you've been chatting the whole time and still forgotten to like, please do that. You can do that without like completely leaving the stream. You should be able to press the back button, especially if you're on a mobile device, and then I'll go smaller into the corner, and then my page should be in the background, and then you can just go like. Sorry, the stream in the description should be in the background. You just press the like button, and then of course, on top of that, we also like you to subscribe. And I say we because, you know, there's a group of us who are behind this channel, some of which have been here tonight, and I appreciate them stopping by too. So, thanks guys for watching. Let you know now what we got coming up on the channel. So, nothing tomorrow. What day is tomorrow? Thursday. Friday night we've got a convention stream hosted by myself and Nimble. Hopefully get a few more of the guys who are going to be at Bricktastic to pop on at the very least to say hello and do a live purchase of the Bricktastic tickets. A little bit of Bricktastic chat and gossip and have a little bit of fun with it, and then move on to some convention, sci-fi convention chat. Saturday I'm going to do a Cold Fusion stream, which also kind of steals my thunder a little bit because I should really have done most of the talking then, but at least I won't be trying to build. So Cold Fusion stream is going to happen on Saturday, guys. It's been a while since I've done one. They always get the best interactions. I know it's obviously longer, so you're going to get more viewing hours because it goes on, like the last one went on for about 7 or 8 hours till Slurpee cut the stream off by mistake. Shout out to Slurpee. But it's things like the likes and the views, the amount of people, that's the amount of people who view it, or the amount of times it's viewed. That shouldn't make a difference whether it's a short or a long one. In fact, if anything, the shorter streams tend to get more views because people will watch it more. But for whatever reason, when I've done these Cold Fusion streams, which if I do another one, when I do one on Saturday, it'll be the third one. The last two, the views have been phenomenal, which is great to see. So I really want to get in and do one of those again. And I know a few of the guys out there have been looking forward to one because it's a free-for-all. And what that means is that within reason, obviously, I don't have like 9 people on the screen for the entire time. It's going to be carnage. But and I will say, if you're out there and you're listening, unless I reach out to you and ask you to help me host a Cold Fusion stream, if you can make it, if you want to pop along as a guest, you're more than welcome to. That is going out to people watching this who've never been on a stream before. That is going out to people watching this who've only ever been in the chat. So Sarah, as an example, Ultra, if you want to join on, don't have to show your face. I'd love to get you on and have a chat with you. Obviously not in person, but you know. But there's also to all the people out there who are watching this stream, perhaps on replay, or new to the channel, never been here before. It's welcome to everybody. The Cold Fusion stream is, the idea of it is to just try and build this community spirit. Most of the people who watch this stream follow my content, both here on Instagram. I've met and gotten to know through those Cold Fusion streams. They've been that kind of gateway. So that's what the Cold Fusion stream is all about. So we're going to do one Saturday and make it a longer day event. That way people from all over the world can join. So the Aussie guys can get on because it won't be so late for them. So yeah, guys, if you're out there, you're listening to this, doesn't matter who you are, reach out to me, either in the comments here below if you're only on YouTube, or hit me up on Instagram, Cool_Bricks, and let me know if you're interested in being on the Cold Fusion stream. The only thing I will say is that last time we did have a few people who kind of stayed for a long time throughout the stream, and I do want to kind of keep it fresh and exciting. I'm not saying people are going to get booted out, But you know, unless you're hosting the stream with me, which I'm going to reach out to a few people who and if you're out there and you know you've been on streams with me before, let me know if you want to be a co-host. I want to try and get 2 or 3 of us to host it, and then just welcome everybody else to come in, and we will kind of I'll try and what's the word, recycle people a little bit. So if you've been kicking around for 2 or 3 hours and then you know there's 7 or 8 people on the screen, I might say, look, time to go. So give you that warning in advance. But yeah, let me know if you're out there. Hit me up on Instagram, you know, and I'm happy to consider a few people for to co-host it with me if you're available, especially if you're available for the majority of the time. But otherwise, yeah, we put the link generally in the chat. Or what I might do to make it a bit easier is I might have you guys message me privately if you want the link, and I'll send the link out so you can jump on. But yeah, it's a weekend day, tends to work better for a lot of people, so hopefully more people can pop on. So that's Saturday. Sunday we got the show as normal, and then I'm hoping to try and do that stream that I talked about the Star Wars, Is It Even That Good, on Monday. It's not going to be Monday, it's going to be a week Friday, 2 weeks Friday. So not next Friday, the Friday after. So not this Friday, not the next Friday, the Friday after that, possibly. But that's to be confirmed. But wow, it's really going off now, you can hear it. But if I don't do that stream on Monday, which is quite unlikely at this point, I will do another build stream on Monday for you guys. So if any of that sounds appealing or interesting to you guys, let me know. Reach out to me on Instagram. It's the best place to get hold of me. But let me know also in the chat below. If you've been here for the whole time, if you've just popped on, if you're watching this on replay, please get some comments in the chat. Doesn't matter what it is. You can just say what you said in the chat. What do you think about the set? What are you building? What are you up to? What are you doing for fireworks night, or bonfire night? What do you think of this build? What do you think? Any feedback for the stream? Just get in the comments, because lots of comments on a stream of any kind really help out the channel, believe it or not. It just shows that this channel is active. And I don't encourage comments that much. These live comments are great, but they're only helping while where the algorithm kind of works is they're only helping while the video is live. After the fact, if you want to get some comments in, even if you just put great stream, loved it, thanks for the stream, whatever, something like that, it doesn't matter what the words are, even if it's just an emoji, it helps the stream a lot. So do the likes, so do the subs, and obviously any of that stuff would be greatly appreciated. So thanks for coming along, guys. Appreciate all of you, whether you're new or whether you're a returning member. And yeah, like I said, lots of new exciting things to come. Got some short form content on the horizon, so I'm finally just going to suck it up and be like, you know what, rather than overthink how am I going to make this video, how am I going to make it look nice and do a voiceover and all that bollocks that takes a lot of time and effort, sometimes for no payoff. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to grab a mock, film, go look at this mock I built, and then show a few pictures of it. Because I kind of want to show this stuff off, and I know that's what people out there in this community want to see. But I'm always thinking about the best way to dress it up, rather than actually doing it. So yeah, so I've got some stuff I really want to show off, whether it be stuff from my collection, old photos of me with Lego, mocks that I've done, mocks that I'm in the process of doing, hulls that I've picked up from different events, all this stuff here. I just never had a chance to do anything with it because I'm always thinking about overthinking the best way to present it rather than just saying here it is, because I think essentially that's all people care about. So yeah, lots coming. Appreciate your time, guys, and for riding with me. We've got a couple of extra comments I'll read out and then we'll shoot. What is for tea? Leek and roasted tomato mac and cheese. Ooh, that does sound good. Yummy. Wow, that sounds delicious. It's a gusto meal. I'm not that creative in my cooking. I almost got the blame there. Hell yeah, I'll be there for a cold fusion. They're always fun. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. I'll pop on if you like. Oh, Sarah, you're going to pop on the cold fusion? Are you going to show your face? Not that you have to, no pressure, but I'm just interested. But if you want to just come on with the icon and just talk to us, that'd be amazing. Love to have you. I'd love to have you on the live community. Yay, Paddy. Don't make it complicated at the end of the day. It's a hobby. Yeah, I know. That's just me overall. It took me so long, Force Bricks, to get to the point where I could just put the camera on and film myself building. And I really enjoy it. But the thought process that goes into that, how can I make the audio better? Oh, I haven't charged my phone up so I can't plug in my mic. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And I can tell myself that now. But in those hours, minutes, seconds that lead up to the stream, I'm overthinking, what can I do? Oh, are they going to be, oh, is this not working? That's not working. That's not going to be the best. Because I'm so like hyper fixated on everything being always like over edited, over detailed, over like, and I overcomplicate it for myself. And then sometimes I just go, oh, I can't be bothered at all. That's generally what happens to me when it comes to short form content. I'm like, can't get this to work. I don't know how to do this or that. Oh, I haven't said the right words there, and whatever. And I just go, don't bother at all. But yeah, you're right. I do need to just start embracing it and being like, hey, because I see it. I go onto Instagram and I see a guy. We use Nimble as an example, where he's just taking a photo of just a set in a box. That's it. And then there's no knock against that because it clearly works. And there's like the likes, the views, the interactions from it, and amazing. And I'm like, that's just like, I'm always thinking, what can I do? And I'm like, there's so much that I want to show off. And I don't like the word show off, but there's so much that I want to showcase from my collection and what it is I do, other than just a thumbnail for an upcoming Cool Hang show. That's the reason I got on Instagram in the first place. But I'm trying to make it too complicated. There are some bits of content that have to be kind of, thought out and planned out. But when it comes to just showing off like a mark, I just need to take a picture of it and upload it. And I just never do it. So I'm taking inspiration from people like Muttley and Nimble, who've been in the community as long as I have, and do a far better job of pleasing the people who come to their channel and come to their account by just showing them what is they're doing, what is they're building, what is they've got, rather than trying to think 20 steps beyond that. So I'm going to start trying to do a little bit more of that. So, but yeah, Paddy's going to show her face. Sarah going to show your face. I can't wait. Really excited to get you on the show, Sarah. I just don't know how I can contact you because I don't think you're on Instagram. So there's no kind of messaging service with YouTube. So I'll have to try and figure that out somehow. Don't even know whether you can private message somebody on, because you need to be able to send you the link. So what I'll say is, if you pop along on Saturday, whenever you're free, I'm not even sure what time I'm going to start it yet. Probably going to do it quite early. Probably going to go about 11 o'clock till about 7 o'clock, or just see how it goes. But I will, once you're there, if you let us know, we can send it to you somehow via the chat. If you're not on Instagram or whatever, but if you are on Instagram, obviously reach out to me via there. And that's us, guys. I don't want to keep it going because it's going to end up turning into 2.5 hours, but I appreciate everyone's time. Like I said, I've thanked you all. I'll thank you again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to get some comments after this is finished just below. If you're here right now, I'm about to close it. As soon as I've closed it and it says stream ended, just go straight into the comments and be like, great stream, amazing stream, whatever. Even if you want to say it's a bad stream, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you've read a comment really helps. Even if you just say, cool man, you smell, or your audio is terrible, whatever. I'll take it tongue in cheek anyway, but it does help the channel. So help me out, guys. Appreciate you all. Good night. Enjoy your fireworks night, and if you're in the US, enjoy your Wednesday evening. Night all. Take care.